Vote for voter ID. In a post on Truth Social, he wrote he searched legal arguments and will be presenting one in the near future. And he wrote there will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not. This is Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the Save America Act is something the government owes the American people.
The bill, which passed in the House, includes requiring voters to present proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote in a federal election.
They also say that this act requires voters to have a U.S. passport to register. That's not true. There's multiple options that are given to provide proof of citizenship, including military ID, government ID, photo ID with a proof of birth and location.
Noem and Republicans say it will prevent fraud, while Democrats say voting by non-citizens is already illegal and very rare, alleging the measure just makes it more difficult for Americans to vote.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. New developments in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Fox's Jonathan Hunt spoke at length with Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, who told him
the DNA they have sent for testing that was found in the house is not from Nancy Guthrie. The implication, obviously, is that neither is it from the family members that, of course, they will have checked their DNA already.
The 84-year-old mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie has been missing for 13 days. Her family has said she doesn't have her medication and could die without it. America's listening to Fox News.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
The yellow light!
I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on the Seattle Red app. You will not want to miss the audio we have of a lunatic lady out in Thurston County harassing deputies, or a deputy. You will not want to miss this infuriating, intolerable woman. We're going to get to it in just about 20 minutes or so. But first, absolutely sickening. But now the federal government is investigating the Puyallup School District over an alleged assault by a trans boy against a girl during a girls-only wrestling match. That's what's trending. Brought to you by Legacy Group Capital, Common Sense Lending.
What's trending in Pierce County?
The U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights has just launched a directed investigation into the Puyallup School District, Rogers High School in particular, after reports of a 16-year-old female wrestler who says she was sexually assaulted by a trans-identifying biological boy who also happened to be her competitor during a girls-only match. And the video of it is just disturbing. You can't see the physical assault. It takes place on a wrestling mat. The young girl who has identified herself, she did an interview with Randy Cruz, my friend from Undivided. Her name is Callie Keeler. And she wasn't told that she was going to be fighting a boy, which I especially think you want to know if you're wrestling. But the allegation is that the biological boy inserted his fingers in a very rough and hard way into her body part, her private part. And while you can't directly see that kind of penetration because of the angle of the video, you can see the look on this poor girl's face of disgust and shock and pain. Like, it is jarring to see. And obviously, she's never experienced anything like this before. She spoke with Brandy Cruz.
And that has never happened. Like,
out of all the years I've wrestled.
Because you do get, you're on the mat and you're trying to flip people and pin people, but all those years through elementary and middle school, you'd never had anything like that happen to you.
No.
So in the moment, what are you thinking? Or are you just so involved, like you can't even?
Like, I was just kind of like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really know what to do or how to handle that situation. I just wanted the match to be over.
Yeah, but you immediately knew that wasn't right. It was nothing you'd ever experienced.
No.
And again, to reiterate, you don't know it's a biological boy at the time. You don't know your opponent is a biological boy. Yeah. So how long after that does the match end?
I was just kind of done with the match, so I just let them pin me. So like maybe 30, 40 seconds later.
So you lost, you got pinned, but you're saying it's because you wanted it to be done.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Now, the investigation from the Department of Education, and this again is the U.S. Department of Education, this is not Washington. So this will actually be investigated. But it's to determine whether or not the district violated Title IX by allowing the male to complete this match against a female and just to compete in general, whether they violated the law with accessing girls' locker rooms and by allegedly failing to respond appropriately to the assault. Because Keeler said that she reported this to the school and the coach, at least at first, seemed sympathetic, but then nothing happened after this. And again, from her perspective, she was kept in the dark until the moment that she realized what was happening.
I told my mom like right after the match, and I couldn't find my coach.
Okay.
Like after the match, because there were other matches going on. And then a different coach from another school came up and talked to me about that match.
Okay, and did they, because they had seen something, or did they just talk, generally speaking, like what did they want to tell you?
They wanted to tell me that it was a biological boy that I was wrestling.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
So what was your reaction to hearing just that it was a boy?
I was like really shocked at first because like I didn't know what to think of it, because like high school wrestling, it's a women's wrestling team. So I wasn't really thinking that, and I wasn't concerned about that.
Yeah, because you're a normal person. And you're hoping that the adults in your life who are tasked with protecting you, you want to hope that they're not going to put you in such a vulnerable position. Now, that student reported the alleged assault in December, so just a month and 13 days ago, and nothing ended up coming of it. And the only time that police were even notified, in this case, the Pierce County Sheriff's Office, was after she came forward and did this interview and told her story. That's when the King County the King County Sheriff's Office started to look into it and now have an open investigation. And so this is not a law enforcement investigation that the federal government is engaged in. This is merely about making sure that the school is held accountable for this. And I certainly hope that they get held accountable, because girls should not have to go through this.
This whole debate's happening right now in our state, obviously, and we have an initiative that would protect girls' sports and say, if you're a biological boy, you can't participate. I'm sure you've seen some of the hate that we get, some of the hate that even teen athletes get. We have a couple girls who've been really outspoken about these issues, and sometimes they need like armed security when they go places. Why do you think people get so upset at female athletes when they advocate against that?
I honestly couldn't even tell you. Like, everyone voices their own opinions, but people just get like more mad at certain athletes than others.
Yeah.
Like my friend group, they support me in like everything, and like they thought that it was really weird what happened during the match too. I just think that like boys shouldn't be allowed in women's sports, whether they identify as female or not. Like, they can identify as whatever, but in sports, especially strength-based sports, I feel like they need to be in their gender-assigned sport.
That position is not controversial. It's not shocking. It's not anything other than mainstream. That is a normal position. And to quote Kimberly Ritchie, the Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, the allegations in this case are sickening. That's an understatement. You've got so many girls like this who are impacted. And, the Chris Reichtels of the world, the superintendent, and other really bad faith leftists will go out there and say, this is an issue that's only about a very small handful of girls. They're just trans girls who are girls, and they just want to compete. Why are you so obsessed with like 13 or 14, whatever the number is? I doubt it's that low, but here's why. There may be, and I'll just go with that stupid low number, 13 trans athletes. That might be the case in Washington State. Every time they compete, they're impacting another girl. And that's what this is about. It's not about the 1 or 2 or 3 trans girls. It's about the many that they impact. I'm going to presume that this wrestler, biological boy, has competed against other girls before. Those are all girls who missed out on opportunities to advance, to get better, to feel comfortable and safe. When you've got someone who's a boy who's winning track meets, they're beating a dozen or so girls who don't get to place first or second or third, get placed at all. It's about all the girls who are trying to get onto a team but then lose out on the final spot because it was given to a boy. Chris Reichtel and others pretend not to understand that. He understands it. He just doesn't care because he thinks he's getting some extra points by standing up for trans people, marginalized community members. You're not standing up for them. You're just hurting girls. You're standing against girls. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Crime.
There are 2 separate shootings in Seattle under investigations. One incident in Ballard, another one in Columbia City. Multiple people were left injured, including a police officer. Now, starting in Ballard, Como News reports that the Seattle Police Department responded to gunfire, or at least reports of gunfire. The officers got there, they found a suspect, and then there was an exchange of gunfire that followed. An officer ended up getting shot. He is expected to recover. He was transported to Harborview Medical Center in stable condition. The suspect was also shot. The suspect's in critical condition. Now, we don't know all of the details yet on the confrontation leading up to this. All of that's under investigation. And we haven't gotten many details of what prompted the initial police contact or, what led to the shots being fired. I'm going to go with the bad guy is a bad guy, and that's what bad guys who are armed do. But Chief Sean Barnes spoke with Como.
The caller stated that someone was following her. The officers got here and encountered a suspect. In this case, weapons were discharged. Our officers discharged their weapon. I'm thankful that all officers are going to be okay. It is customary to shelter in place whenever we have an exchange of gunfire. And so that did happen. It has since been lifted, and no one inside was injured or affected by this. Violence against our community is never okay. We take them seriously, and we approach every case the same, no matter where we're standing in the city of Seattle.
Okay, cool, but that doesn't really mean anything. I don't mean to dismiss Sean Barnes on that, but it seems like we just had a good year of crime going down year over year because we started to take crime seriously. And this was around the country. It wasn't just in Seattle. This is in large part due to the change in leadership at the very top with Donald Trump. But now we have an ideologue who's in power. And with Katie Wilson, I fear that crime is going to go back in the wrong direction. Now, in this particular case, the Kirkland Police Department have taken over the investigation because this is standard. You don't have the agency with the conflict to do the investigation. It doesn't make any sense. If it's a SPD officer, it's not going to be SPD who does the investigation. The problem is we now have, courtesy of Democrats, a new agency called the Washington Office of Independent Investigations, and they're going to be in charge at the state level of doing these kinds of investigations, and I don't trust anything that comes from the state. Not with all these hardcore anti-cop Democrats in charge. But again, in this case, there's zero reason to suggest anything was done by the cop that is deserving of any kind of punishment or, God forbid, legal charges. So that was in Ballard. Then there was a shooting in Columbia City. It was a completely separate shooting. Officers end up finding a man who had been shot in the chest. He gets transported to Harborview Medical Center. Now, they didn't give us the full details on his condition other than he was conscious when he was taken to the hospital. A man was detained at the scene for questioning. We haven't seen any charges announced of any kind. Again, both of these cases are active investigations. And we're getting a lot of these crimes happening over and over and over again, kind of getting close to one another. Maybe suggests that we should be paying attention to the general direction of what's happening here and what we're going to continue to see. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope maybe this is just a, we're ready for the cold to go away and we're getting a little antsy. I don't know. But dear God, it seems clearly like we're getting into the realm of reversing course on some of the significant and hard-fought wins we've seen. I hope that we're wrong. But of course, it's not just Seattle that's dealing with this. Tukwila, the place you go if you want to have your car stolen. I'm kidding. But Tukwila PD say a DUI suspect bit an officer during an arrest that happened earlier this week. The officer spotted the driver speeding the wrong way on Tukwila International Boulevard. There was a brief chase. The car ended up getting stopped. And when police were trying to make their arrest, he allegedly fought them and bit one of them on the forearm. He ends up getting booked for DUI and assaulting an officer. Who bites? Big baby. Seriously, who bites? It's so pathetic. Oh, let's find out. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? The sports ball.
Washington Senator Maria Cantwell, the one you forget is a senator. Usually when she's talking about issues, weirdly, she talks about sports. I just remember her mostly for calling out the name of the Washington Redskins. But she's the ranking member on the Senate Commerce Committee. And she spoke with Como about the idea for an NBA expansion that would bring the Supersonics back to town, or just some version of an NBA team that we're going to call something not the Supersonics. I don't know if they're going to call it the Sonics. But she was speaking at the Seahawks victory celebration at Lumen Field. And she spoke with Chris Daniels from Como TV. And she believes the NBA will start discussions about expansion as soon as March. So, 2.5 weeks or so? 2 weeks? And she thinks, she's pretty confident, she says, that Seattle would be at least a part of the conversation.
We want a basketball team here in Seattle, and hopefully the NBA moving towards a discussion of expansion this March.
Why do you say March?
And by the way, listen to the language she used here.
Moving towards a discussion of...
Moving towards a discussion. Not having a discussion, but moving towards maybe having a discussion.
Expansion this March.
Why do you say March?
Well, I think that's when their next big discussion is. So they're going to start a process, and when they start that process, they'll say, where could we expand to?
So it's possible that they might start a conversation about starting a conversation about the Sonics coming to Seattle? Okay. Now, look, I don't know what's going to happen in this March meeting. I don't particularly care. I'm not a sports guy. I'm not a Sonics freak. I'm totally okay with having an NBA team here, right? I think that would be good for the economy, but that's about it. It's just economically, it would be really good. It'd be probably good for this building because we got a sports station and we got a news talk station beyond what we do. But I'm not going to pretend to care all that much about the sport and the team. I'm in that camp of not really caring, especially because how many years have we talked about the return of the Sonics? Since 2008? Like, when are we going to just either stop talking about it and just say, okay, we'll wait and get excited once you give us something specific, or at a bare minimum, just stop with the reporting, the breathless reporting of, oh, this could be the time. It could happen this time. It could happen this time. And the only reason it sounds like Cantwell is specifically citing the possibility of the Sonics return is just because the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. The Seahawks previously won the Super Bowl, and we didn't get any closer to having the Sonics return to Seattle. This doesn't to me seem like there's anything actionable for her to base her position on. She's just saying, well, I think it would make sense if after the Seahawks win, you end up getting NBA more interested in okay, but that's not based on any insider information. You're just guessing. And again, it could be the right guess. And there's obviously an argument to be made that this is a sports town and it's weird that we don't have an NBA team, which is what Seattle Metro Chamber President Joe Wynn told Como.
We are the largest media market without an NBA team. The redemption that we felt during the Super Bowl and the Seahawks making it back, I think that's the same level of feeling we're going to get here locally as well when the Sonics come back. You have awareness around the globe. It makes Seattle more of a magnet for tourism as well.
I mean, it may, to a degree, sure, I guess. I'm not going to put, I'm not going to, it's not, I don't want to say I'm not going to get my hopes up because I don't care. I'm not going to get your hopes up for something like this. And the reality is we are competing with one particular city that can make a better argument about being not just a sports city, but an entertainment mecca, and that's Las Vegas. The sports environment there has changed dramatically. They've got with the Las Vegas Knights, a hockey team that has exploded in popularity in a way that I was at least shocked by. Even the Raiders are, from a team standpoint, they're awful. But from a city standpoint, they're well supported. It brings in people from LA, from San Francisco, from just places within a 45-minute to an hour and a half plane ride. It just makes sense. And obviously, MLB is expanding there. They're building the stadium. It's going to take a bit, but they're going to build a stadium there. I mean, if I'm the NBA, I'm looking specifically at Vegas. And I'm willing to bet that they're going to get a whole bunch of perks from city government, state government to expand there. Now, I wouldn't sleep on Seattle. Obviously, Adam Silver, the commissioner, has talked about Seattle being a potential strong market. So, again, I'm not going to be shocked. But if it was only between Las Vegas and Seattle, my bet would be on Las Vegas. I don't think they really care about Seattle all that much. So I don't know if this story is about anything more than maybe her optimism, Marie Campbell's optimism for bringing a team here, but there's nothing new there. Meanwhile, down in Portland, there is a new set of renderings that have been created showing a potential Moda Center upgrade. And this is only if a Senate bill out there passes. It's right now the oldest unrenovated arena in the NBA, the Moda Center. Oldest unrenovated. Those are two words you don't want next to each other. And locally, they've had a lot of backing from the city to upgrade the stadium. But there have been some questions about whether or not, because the team was just sold to this new part, like, are they going to stay at this particular stadium? And part of that is, the question is, will they stay only if it gets an upgrade? And so we now see these renderings, which are subject to change, and they call it Unmistakably Portland, showcasing a new facade for the area, as well as open spaces and even an outdoor stage. Who cares? You can set up a stage outdoors anywhere. They say the goal is to elevate the current experience with new entrances, concourses, and gathering spaces while upgrading seating, which should always be the first thing you upgrade at every stadium, but also upgrading lighting, audio, and video systems, plus back-of-house systems to support global touring acts, meaning we'd like to see some mixed use here that could benefit everyone. Let's bring in Post Malone. They say they're going to keep sustainability and accessibility as central tenets of the renovations while working to build upon the current arena's lead platinum history. This all according to Coin TV. Now, again, this new piece of legislation that they're looking at the Senate in Oregon, Salem, doesn't give any funds for the renovations. Like, you're not getting any of that, but it helps to set up a playbook for how the state and the city could partner to fund the renovation over the course of the next 20 years. So I don't know if that's going to be enough. But Senate President Rob Wagner said to Coin, if we lose our anchor tenant, the Portland Trailblazers, we're going to lose tens of millions of dollars of income that flows into the state of Oregon through our general fund. That supports education. That supports healthcare. So they're basically saying you got to spend money to make money. And For this, they're 100% correct. Now, Portland, I don't know. Do people consider Portland to be a sports city? They obviously have a sports team, not just the Trailblazers, but the Portland Timbers on the MLS side. They're pretty big. What's the stupid Pickles? They got them. I don't know. Are they Seahawks fans? I do like the idea of having a rivalry between the Sonics and the Trailblazers, because I like the rivalry between the Sounders and the Timbers on the soccer side. We don't have a rivalry with football. But the idea of another rivalry with Portland where we can show that we're so much better than them, that I would be excited about. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. Over the years, Sunset Auto Family's Warranty Protection for Life has paid over $6 million in warranty claims because they value the long-term relationship with the customers. Stop by for Sunset Auto Family's free warranty health check. Nothing is worse than a void warranty when you need it the most. You just get more at Sunset, and people do like that. SunsetAutoFamily.com. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. When we come back, a lunatic starts harassing a Thurston County deputy, and you are going to be shocked at how the sheriff responded. We're going to get into that and so much more when we return on the Jason Rantz Show on SeattleRed.com.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Thanks for calling CM Heating. How can I help?
Yeah, hi. Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
Yep, that's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is absolutely free.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so we'll help you save the most and even handle the rebate process start to finish.
Amazing, but what if I just need a furnace?
All good. Furnaces start at just $69.99 a month. And don't forget to ask about our clean air upgrades, because with all the smoke from wildfires, these systems filter out pollen, dust, and harmful particles, keeping the air in your home clean and healthy all year long.
Sweet.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, a free furnace you'll love for years, and cleaner air for your home. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, total home comfort, and electrical service,
there's no beating CM Heating. Let's go!
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
At the UPS Store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product, services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable.
Belize it or not, Flower World is giving away sunshine. Win a 7-day Belizean getaway for 2 at Flower World's very own Maya Heights Resort. Visit MayaHeights.com to win. The trip includes round-trip airfare from Seattle to Belize, 10% off dining and tours, and views stretching from the rainforest to the sea. Leave the umbrella at home with the rain. They'll provide the warmth. Enter at MayaHeights.com, your gateway to Belize. From Flower World, a world of flowers, plants, and a whole lot more.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/Tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
This hour of the Jason Rantz Show is brought to you by General Transmission Repair.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on the Seattle Red app, online at seattlered.com. I caught a post from Derek Sanders, the Thurston County Sheriff. He is very active on his Facebook page, and it's pretty great because he oftentimes will get a lot of video out rather quickly from body cam, so we get a better sense of exactly what happened. And last night, it might have been the night before, he had posted something about a deputy who was essentially harassed by some lunatic anti-cop near a school, near Seven Oaks Elementary. And we're going to play for you the audio because it's truly outrageous what deputies have to go through and law enforcement generally have to go through. But I want to read to you his introduction first because I really think it sets the stage for the lunacy you're about to hear. He said, after finishing up a collision near the school, Deputy DeMano was in his car in the school parking lot typing up a collision report for the involved parties. An individual in our community approached Deputy DeMano while recording him and began questioning why he was there, telling the deputy that he was scaring families, that he's not part of our community, and that we shouldn't be lingering near our local schools. And then it goes where you would hope. Then he says, I'm grateful that the individual recorded this encounter and shared it for me to see, as I will be placing a letter of commendation in Deputy DeMano's file for his tact, professionalism, and unwillingness to take escalation bait that was set for him during this encounter. He's a brand new deputy with only a few months on solo patrol, but his composure was that of a 30-year veteran. God bless him. Because every single person who's about to hear this, everyone listening right now, just know that we would not be responding the way he did. Not as patient.
What are you doing?
What am I doing here?
Why are you here?
Why are you? And you can already tell the kind of person she is. And you get a brief glimpse of what she looks like. She looks exactly the way you think.
I was just doing a collision report, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you guys going to be here much longer?
Until I'm done doing my job.
Because one of the teachers, when I dropped off over there, said y'all been circling since about 8.
Okay. Well, I'm just doing my job, so.
And by the way, I don't even think she had a conversation with the teacher.
The quicker I do
Your
my
job at the elementary school since about 8 a.m.?
I wasn't here at 8
There was a collision here at the elementary school?
You have a good day. I'm going to continue to do my job.
You work for us, and you're scaring these families.
Okay.
There's not a single family who's scared. Not a single family who's scared. And this insufferable woman is not scared either. She might pretend to be nervous, but she's not. She's not. This is someone who is a partisan witch who's looking for something to complain about.
Well,
you should probably go do your job where your job lives. Because I don't see that it
You should probably go mind your own business, you insufferable lunatic.
needs to be right here all morning.
Okay. I'm going to explain something. The person that I was just working with left approximately 5 minutes ago. This was a collision report for them. I'm doing my job. I gave them all their information.
Can you maybe, like for a second, acknowledge that you could be a really upsetting sight for people right now?
No. He can't acknowledge that because it's not true. And even if it were, what does he care? You're an upsetting image for me. Your voice is upsetting to me. Your demeanor is upsetting to me. Your existence is upsetting to me. And?
Yes, ma'am, I'm just doing my job.
I get it.
So-
I get it. But like for us to be able to collaborate with y'all at all going forward, you're going to have to show us some humanity. You're going to have to show us that you understand the circumstances and the feelings that you evoke. Because like, It would be so rad to feel like you're here for us. It would be so rad to feel like you guys get it and understand that you are actually the defending line between us and the fascism. But until like that.
And you can tell it was at that point where he's like, okay, we're done.
That's overt. Until that's overt that you're part of our community.
Okay. Well, ma'am.
Then I don't think you should be lingering
with
here.
Absolutely all due respect, I'm not going to continue to go back and forth. I'm going to try to finish my job as fast as possible. Okay? Keep in mind that you are cussing. We are in front of a school. So please just keep that in mind, okay?
I'll give you that. That's fair.
Okay, so the quicker I get this done, I can leave, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not really not trying to bother you,
Please really be thinking about these kids and these moms.
Look, I get it, ma'am.
You know what moms are going through right now, right?
No, what are they going through?
But
what are they going through, lady?
I'll get this out of the way and I'll be out of everyone's hair,
I sure
okay?
would appreciate that.
Yep. You have a good rest of your day, okay?
What an awful person. What a truly awful person. And so Sheriff Sanders notes, Thurston County Sheriff's Office and our employees are part of and belong to this community. We encourage our patrol deputies to routinely maintain a presence at all of our schools. And there's no easier way to do that than to sit in the school parking lot instead of the office to type a report. And then says the feedback we receive from families, students, and our school faculty is overwhelmingly positive throughout the county. And for those who do have concerns, we're always happy to meet and work through them. And so he thanks the deputy who is going to get a commendation for this or some sort of letter of support from the sheriff. Awesome. I love the sheriff. And it was this morning. I just double checked is when he posted it. I thought it was posted maybe late last night. Good for Sheriff Sanders. Seriously. And again, this woman is the worst. The worst. And she knows she's the worst, but she thinks she's the best. She thinks she's the hero. This is the kind of attitude you get from self-important losers. Sorry, I genuinely don't like to throw out words like that, even when they fit. I genuinely don't. I'd prefer to just say, hey, maybe we disagree on certain things and then move on. But she's harassing this poor deputy simply because he's existing. That's it. Her trigger is that cops exist. And she's speaking on her own behalf while pretending to represent the community of students and teachers and parents. She's that kind of person. I think they have a name for that, Karen. Well, they've got a lot of names for that. I can't use most of them on air. But Karen is one of them. I don't like that you're here. Can't you go somewhere else? Do you understand? Show some compassion and humanity for the people who don't like cops. You're supposed to be the only one standing between us and fascism. And it's almost like she thought he was there to do immigration enforcement. Don't you understand? That's what people actually think. They see you and they're like, oh my God, I'm in this country illegally. I'm a criminal and I don't want to be arrested. And that's not fair. I hate these people so much. They don't offer anything to the conversation. And, you know, we have this conversation a lot of, I don't care if we have differences of opinion, like policy opinion, positions on individual politicians or parties. I don't care. I'm happy to have those conversations. I think my career is based on that. I'm a conservative in Seattle. I am surrounded by people who disagree with me on pretty much everything. I'm okay with that. And I'm okay engaging in conversations with people who disagree. Earlier in this week, I was in New York City on CNN getting scolded by liberals. And I sat there and I had conversations to the best of my ability, getting, shouted down or spoken over. But I let them make their point, and then I defend my positions and yours. They don't like that I'm there as a conservative. I don't think they want to have these conversations with conservatives. Some do. Some absolutely are doing so in good faith. Others just seem to get annoyed that someone has an opinion that's different from theirs. I don't get annoyed with difference of opinion. I get annoyed with the attitudes from some of the people who have differences of opinion that they're unwilling to debate, but are very willing and eager to scold you over. That's the kind of stuff that bothers me. And you can tell this is not a woman who's interested in conversation. She's interested in scolding and lecturing. And if you disagree with her, you're in the wrong automatically, not her. Somehow you're the problem, not this intolerant lunatic who posts the video, by the way, proudly. I mean, she's posting this proudly as if she did something right here that deserves to be lauded. She posted this, I believe it was on Instagram, the video. And I think her intent is to get a whole bunch of people to like it and say, oh, thank you so much for doing the job of a saint, Karen. Thanks for protecting us, Karen. Thank you so, oh my gosh, you're the best, Karen. We love you. You saved a lot of lives today, Karen. Thank you so much. She's hoping for that. And while I don't know her account because the video was shared as a screenshot almost by Sheriff Sanders, something tells me the second people find out who she is, and I'm sure it would take me 2 seconds to find out, going to her Instagram account, you're going to see a whole bunch of people calling her out for what she is. A fringe anti-cop activist who suffers from severe narcissism. This is a narcissism problem as much as it is anything else. 1-800-465-8774, your text messages. What do you think of this text or this video? 1-800-465-8770. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. When we come back, some interesting news and about face almost in the New York Times over marijuana legalization. We'll tell you what they're saying now that they realize the experiment has been an abject failure. When we return on the Jason Rantz Show, SeattleRed.com. Hey, it's Jason Rantz. If you're stacking silver and gold, you already know the problem. When prices surged up around 200% this past year, your stack becomes a target. One break-in or house fire can wipe out years of hard work. That's why people call Northwest Safe, your local Liberty Safe dealer. Whether it's over the phone or in person, their expert sales staff will help guide you to the right safe to protect your valuables. Protect your metals, protect your peace of mind. Call 1-888-404-SAFE or visit nwsafe.com.
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Let's be clear. No fluff. If you're shopping for a new Chevy in Washington State, there's a reason one dealership keeps finishing number one. They do it year after year, Sunset Chevrolet. There's no gimmicks or hype, just results. In 2025, Sunset Chevrolet finished as the top Chevy dealership in the entire state by sales volume. It didn't happen by luck. It happened because customers keep coming back. You see, they offer warranty protection and oil changes for life. They've got a massive inventory. They've got a sales team that treats customers like people instead of transactions. And what most dealers aren't going to say out loud, but Sunset Auto Family will, Chevy pricing is essentially the same everywhere. MSRP is an MSRP. The difference isn't the vehicle. It is what happens after the sale of the vehicle. That's why the Sunset Auto Family keeps winning. So if you're already going to buy a Chevy, why wouldn't you buy it from the dealership more Washington drivers trust than any other? Sunset Chevrolet in Sumner, number one in Washington because they earned it. You just get more at Sunset. And people do like that. Head on over to sunsetautofamily.com.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. Picture amazing photography, designer staging, and maximum exposure. With my luxurious marketing, you'll sell fast at top dollar and save thousands in fees for just 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
Belize it or not, there's sunshine waiting for you in Belize. Win a free 7-day stay, including round-trip airfare from Seattle to Belize, and stay at the Flower World-owned Belizean Resort. Check out MayaHeights.com for rules and to enter for a chance to win. Maya Heights Resort, a beautiful restaurant, resort, 1,000-acre farm, and views to enjoy on the terrace in paradise. Belize will provide the warmth and adventure while Flower World provides the trip. MayaHeights.com, your gateway to Belize. From Flower World.
Landlords, things are changing. New laws, higher costs, less flexibility. Selling without a tax plan can be a very unpleasant surprise. John Curley here. Madrona Financial is hosting free in-person landlord workshops to help you understand your rental performance and how to sell tax efficiently. Workshops are Tuesday the 17th at 3 p.m. at UW-Tacoma and Wednesday the 18th at 3 p.m. at Bellevue College. Seats are limited. Reserve at madronafinancial.com or call 833-673 813-7373.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show on this Friday afternoon. The New York Times editorial board is walking back its past support for the legalization of weed, saying, after all, we might be worse off as a country since we loosened these policies. Now, the editorial board published this piece broadly in the past, condemning broadly their position that supported legalization. Now, they're not all in and saying, boy, did we screw that up. Shame on all of us. We've done so much irreparable harm. It's time to recriminalize. They didn't go that far. They didn't. But for them to go as far as they did, it doesn't matter. They say the goal of reducing mass incarceration tied to drug use and addressing the so-called racial disparities that they were pretending, they say, well, that was understandable. But the real-world consequences of the commercialization of weed, the weak regulation, all of that has created new problems. And it points out in this editorial to several developments since the states began legalizing. And we've talked about some of this in the past. The biggest one that we talked about are just the unintended health effects, because we've seen the psychosis that can be tied directly to a lot of marijuana use. But they point out in this article that the high potency of weed becoming widely available is not something people truly thought through. The hospital visits that go beyond just the psychosis have increased. They say there's concerns around rising addiction rates, especially amongst young smokers. But then they say the industry is not being tightly regulated. In fact, it's become this powerful commercial force that has aggressively marketed more so than what we allow for cigarettes. You can barely mention anything about cigarettes. But weed all of a sudden is everywhere. They're promoting it. And the Times in this editorial board said that the promised social justice outcomes haven't actually materialized. They say while arrests for marijuana possessions have declined in states where it's legal, they say disparities in enforcement still exist. Almost as if it's not really racial what they're talking about, but they want to pretend it is. And they say, by the way, you told us that by doing this, we would get rid of black market weed. That hasn't happened. The illicit market still exists. It still operates. It undercuts the biggest argument on behalf of legalization, that bringing marijuana into a brick and mortar shop, legitimizing it, would eliminate or delegitimize the black market. That didn't happen. Why? Actually, really simple. The Democrats who have legalized weed put such high taxes on it, it's incredibly expensive, and it's still much cheaper to purchase it on the streets. So you can go ahead and spend 80% more going to a shop, or you can get a huge discount on just as potent weed, sometimes though with some stuff mixed in, by going to your neighborhood street dealer. That's how this works still. Now again, this editorial doesn't call for full-on prohibition. But it says, hey, we need stricter regulation, stronger public health safeguards. We have to have more caution than the states have so far exercised. And, it just seems too little too late. I remember talking about that UW study about the psychosis several months ago, maybe even 6-7 months ago. But I remember some of the people responding about dismissing it, saying, oh, this is just made up. This is people who just don't like weed. I don't care about weed either way. Like as a drug, I don't care. I care about the health impacts. I care about the societal impacts. But someone who's making a personal decision, I don't care. And I supported legalizing weed. I regret that. Unlike the New York Times, I'm willing to say I made a mistake on that and don't think it should be legal anymore. I think you can make an argument either way from a conservative perspective. But I think the risks to society and to the individuals far outweigh any benefit. But people just don't want to hear it. And this is not we're not going back to a place of prohibition. I don't even know if we're going to be able to go back to a place of regulation that's meaningful. I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong, because what this article suggests, this editorial suggests, is that the most liberal voices have had a reversal in their earlier positions, which were always based on ideology. Like if you're taking a position because you're doing it for the social justice cause, that means you're a hardcore liberal. And for them to even cast a little bit of doubt on their position does at least show some level of growth. I can appreciate that. They say they want to treat weed more like alcohol or tobacco in terms of oversight, which means they would limit advertising. They would have some sort of say in the potency of the drug. They would do more to stop youth from having access to it. And it essentially says we should not legalize to the point of having normalization without guardrails, which was an argument that Republicans made. Now, the broader context of this piece is that more than 20 states have legalized weed. Many others are allowing for medical use. There's not so much concern over the medical use part. But the reason why we've seen over 20, I think it's 21, maybe 22, the reason why we have 21 or 22 states that have legalized is because just the societal support for it has shifted. We went societally from a country that was completely against weed to saying, after we heard some debates for a long time, over decades, people's moods started to shift on this. But the problem is, what we were being told just was not true. It wasn't true. And one thing that they don't get in too much in this article is just the amount of impaired driving that's taking place. That's incredibly dangerous. It's a different kind of danger than someone who's driving drunk, but it's still a danger. And so at least we're evolving in the debate back to being somewhat reasonable on this. So again, they're not rejecting legalization at this point, but they're at least acknowledging the way that they've done it is wrong. And maybe that means they're going to be able to start walking back at least some of what it is they've been doing. Just at least some of it. Meanwhile, since we're talking about media, I don't know if you guys saw this. There were two instances of clear media bias. The first from the Washington Post, which actually happened the day before yesterday, because I was in an airport tweeting about it. But then yesterday they started to walk it all back. The Washington Post posted an article with a tweet that said, and this was on Wednesday, breaking news, the Trump administration has quietly withdrawn National Guard's troops from Los Angeles, Chicago, and Portland. Okay, so on Wednesday, they posted that as breaking news. They say the pullout was finalized late last month with no public acknowledgement from the White House or the Pentagon. Again, that was posted on Wednesday. The headline, National Guard troops were quietly withdrawn from some U.S. cities. The original story, the pullout was quietly finalized late last month, occurring with no public acknowledgement from the White House or the Pentagon. It was a remarkable turnabout after President Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had insisted that the mobilizations were necessary to combat what they claimed was unchecked violence and to support enforcement of the nation's immigration laws. So, is this purely incompetence or are they just lying? I have to assume it's purely incompetence with maybe a little bit of willful lying, because everything that they wrote is false. Like the claims that they make. This was quietly approved and the White House didn't talk about it. I was one of the many who talked about it at the time on air, but also was one of the many on Wednesday who responded with a screenshot of Donald Trump's Truth Social post from December 31st of 2025, saying, "We are removing the National Guard from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland, despite the fact that crime has been greatly reduced by having these great patriots in those cities." He talked about it. This was a big story. In fact, you can go back. We didn't know it because of a Truth Social post. I knew it because it was reported. New York Times reported it. CNN, the AP. These were actual stories. And so how could this get past editors? How did they not realize that this had happened? And so instead of being open and just retracting the story They made some edits. So then they say, the pullout was completed last month with no public acknowledgement from the White House or the Pentagon other than a social media post weeks earlier in which President Donald Trump forecast the troops' removal. How despicable. Again, this is why no one trusts the media. And again, they couldn't just acknowledge they screwed up. Were they that embarrassed? It's just so pathetic. And then finally, the other incident that happened, we told you a couple days ago about Axios and the crime. Crime is going down despite President Trump's rhetoric calling out crime. Like, okay, you mean because of? This one, it was unintentional. Emissions will keep falling despite Trump's climate rollback. Now, this headline is doing a lot. It's factually accurate, but it's doing a lot. And it kind of depends on how you want to look at it. Because the way I looked at it was like, it's falling despite Trump's climate rollback because what he's rolling back has nothing to do with harming any fight against greenhouse emissions. We're going after the stuff that isn't impacting greenhouse emissions, but is hurting the economy. Now, to some people, they could read that, it doesn't matter what you're doing, Trump, we're still going to go after the greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah, he doesn't care. He wants to go after the greenhouse gas emissions. He just doesn't want to destroy the economy to do so. This is one of those headlines that sort of tells on itself. And oddly enough, it's the same kind of structure, right? The same structure from Axios, the despite this, then that. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Hi, Flo here from Progressive. You know, life changes quickly, so it's good to have flexible coverage.
Oh, you mean like adding another vehicle?
Yes, that's something we can do.
Great, because I was thinking about getting a van so we could just keep the kids' softball stuff in the car.
Oh, we don't need to get into specifics. Just saying it's easy to change.
Oh, and Hannah wants to try the tuba.
Again, we don't need the specifics.
Last year, she wanted to be a tap dancer, but that only lasted 2 lessons.
Okay.
But she kept the shoes because they are adorable.
Well, just know that with Progressive, you can easily add another car to your auto insurance because we know life changes.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
How do you stay humble when you're America's #1 wiper blade? That's what we're currently dealing with at Rain-X. Is it even possible to humble brag when you bully Mother Nature like we do? Do we sound too conceited if we keep repeating how Rain-X is the #1 brand of wiper blades in America? No, we'll take a lesson from our wipers and just keep doing our job with humility. As America's #1 wiper blade. Rain-X. Outsmart the elements.
Mitch here at Leathers, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. There's too much stress in America today. I cannot solve this national affliction, and I cannot run for president as I'm only 74. What I can do is offer you stress-free chairs at our lowest prices of the season. Fjord's factory-authorized sale is going on now. Save hundreds to thousands of dollars on these tailored stress relievers in gorgeous colors that swivel, glide, recline, or even lift. So lessen your stress. Treat yourself to a Fjord's recliner at Leathers Fjord sale in Issaquah now.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Winter weather means slick roads, darker mornings, and more accidents across Western Washington. If you or someone you care about ends up on the side of the road after a crash, safety comes first. Get out of harm's way, exchange information, and make sure a police report is filed. But then make the most important call you can make. Harold Car Law Offices. That one call can save you time, frustration, and a whole lot of money. After an accident, your job is to heal and get back to your life, your family, your work. It's not to sit on hold with insurance companies or chase paperwork or argue over medical bills. That's what Harold Law Offices does for you. Their 48-person legal team handles the insurance companies, fights for the full value of your claim, and takes the stress off of your plate. They don't get paid unless you do. If you've been in a car accident this winter, remember the name you can trust. Harold Car Law Offices. Car is spelled C-A-R-R. They're online at carlaw.com. C-A-R-R. Carlaw.com. Car accident? Call CAR. And tell them Jason Rantz sent you. Carlaw.com.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical,
There's no beating CM Heating.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
Our
Hours away from another partial government shutdown. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Money for the Department of Homeland Security will run out at midnight.
Democrats want ICE and Border Patrol reined in, demanding additional oversight of enforcement operations. President Trump telling reporters.
We've taken out hundreds of thousands of criminals out of our country. We have to protect our law enforcement.
Congress is not expected to renew talks over a DHS funding bill before a midnight deadline to fund the agency, triggering a lapse in funding for the TSA, FEMA, and the Coast Guard. ICE and Customs and Border Protection are least impacted thanks to billions of dollars in funding received through the One Big Beautiful Bill last year.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. 13 days after the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos says he believes she is still alive.
I have nothing but hope. You can't do this job without having that kind of hope.
Nanos has said the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie was forcibly removed from her Tucson home. DNA evidence recovered at the home is now being examined at a forensic lab. Don Lemons pled not guilty to federal civil rights charges over an incident at a church in St. Paul.
He told reporters,
I will not be intimidated. I will not back down. I will fight these baseless charges, and I will not be silent.
Federal agents arrested the former CNN-turned-independent journalist during last month's protest at a church where an ICE official is a pastor and where Lemons says he was exercising his constitutional right to a free press.
Fox's Carmen Roberts. 9 people have been indicted in the case. 4, besides Lemon, pled not guilty today. A mistrial declared in the case of 5 current and former Stanford University students charged after pro-Palestinian protests in 2024. America is listening to Fox News.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Coach! The yellow light! Oh, God, I'm walking here! I'm walking!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on the Seattle Red app. What can you actually do to stop an income tax here in Washington State? We're going to talk with a guest from Americans for Prosperity with some simple things that you can actually do tonight that will be meaningful. But first, Washington Democrats quietly make voter roll cleanup nearly impossible here. That's what's trending. Brought to you by the Sunset Auto family.
What's trending? Let's get political.
Republicans, when you look at what it is we're doing nationally, we are moving forward with the SAVE Act. This is legislation that would require proof of citizenship to register to vote in a federal election and would obviously require voter ID in order to vote during a federal election. And the goal is really straightforward. Prevent people who are not supposed to be registering or voting from doing either of those things. That's pretty straightforward. It's non-controversial. It is wildly popular amongst the American people. Like everyone is on the same page, pretty much. And this is across racial lines. So naturally, in Washington State, you would think that they would get in the way of it because they're Democrats, and you'd be right. Democrats are moving in the opposite direction with a House Bill 1916, which would restructure the process for challenging voter eligibility by raising the threshold to an unbearably high level. So when Congress right now debates how to prevent illegal voting before it happens, you've got Democrats in Olympia trying to make it harder to remove ineligible names from the voter rolls after they're figured out, after they're discovered. None of this is accidental. It's all intentional. It is all intentional. It's the equivalent of when ICE arrests a criminal illegal immigrant. Democrats here will say, let's do what we can to protect a criminal illegal immigrant. So Republicans naturally are saying, let's make it so that illegal immigrants can't vote. Here they're saying, let's make sure that we can do whatever it is we can do to ensure that they do. Now, we've talked about the current law in the past because we've seen some successful challenges. A challenger has to prove a registration is improper by clear and convincing evidence. And that could simply mean, hey, John lives on Main Street, but in the online database of voter registration, it says he doesn't even live in this county. This is wrong, needs to be figured out. But under this bill, it would raise that standard to a burden beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, beyond a reasonable doubt is the highest burden in American law. This is the standard that we use to convict someone of murder. And yet somehow Washington Democrats think it's reasonable to have the same exact threshold be applied to a citizen who raises legitimate concerns about voter eligibility. And by the way, the bill says we have to automatically dismiss the claim if this reasonable doubt burden is not met. The bill, I'm reading the bill right now. It says if the challenger fails to provide beyond a reasonable doubt that the registration is improper, the challenge must be dismissed and any pending challenge ballot must be accepted as valid. And of course, it restricts even more than that. You can only have a hearing scheduled over whether or not someone is properly registered if there's probable cause and eligibility cannot otherwise be confirmed. So in other words, even if a challenge is filed properly, government officials have to determine first if it likely lacks merit before even allowing it to proceed. So you can automatically see how bias against looking into any of these things could get in the way of any kind of challenge. Again, that is the intent. And it could even criminalize unsuccessful challenges because it says any challenger who knowingly challenges without reasonable cause is guilty of a misdemeanor. So they're trying to criminalize this. It's despicable. And Beth Doglio, the Democrat from Olympia, the state rep who is pushing this, says challenging someone's constitutional right to vote is an extremely serious offense. That challenge should be done under the penalty of perjury. Alex Alston with the Washington Voting Justice Coalition testified in favor of the bill.
Voter challenge laws have been used to discourage or intimidate certain populations of voters, naturalized citizens, voters of color, student voters, and voters with disabilities, with the sometimes unfortunate outcome of deterring these eligible voters from participating.
I can't believe they would do that. Meanwhile, Kittitas County Auditor Brian Elliott said, this is absurd. What are you talking about, dudes?
It's clear that the legislature has concerns about frivolous challenges made in bad faith. This seems to be the intent behind the new provisions that add criminal penalties to the statute for submitting a challenge without reasonable cause. I'd like to point out that the current voter registration challenge form, which must be submitted for each individual challenge already, requires the challenger to attest under penalty of perjury that they have personal knowledge and belief that the challenged voter is not qualified to vote for the reasons indicated on the affidavit. While perjury has a clear legal definition, the new language in this bill does not adequately define submitting a challenge without reasonable cause. Therefore, I am concerned that this legislation will have an excessive chilling effect due to the potential legal consequences assigned to challengers.
That's the intent.
This will lead to further unaddressed skepticism regarding the integrity of our voter registration system.
And that last point, I think, is really important. Democrats will tell us all that the system is safe, that it's secure, that we shouldn't be worried at all. Okay. And yet every single time someone says, okay, can we do an audit? They say no. Okay, can we implement voter ID? They say no. Can we implement any basic kind of mitigating policy that could get in the way of potential fraud? They say no. So they create the doubt. And then when you finally say, okay, well, now I'm starting to question whether or not our system is secure, they're like, oh, conspiracy theorist. You're such a conspiracy theorist. Why are you such a conspiracy theorist? They create the conspiracies intentionally, and then they get mad at you for espousing those views. It's pathetic. And again, it's intentional. Taken together, they have created a system where challenging questionable registrations requires near criminal proof. Plus, it carries a legal risk. What do you think the intent is of that? What do you think is the intent? And the contrast between Democrats and Republicans are this hardly subtle. Republicans at the federal level and the local level support citizenship verification up front to secure elections. Democrats, nah. Once you get registered, we want to make it nearly impossible for you to be removed from the voter rolls. Despite the fact that big story just a month and a half ago out of Oregon, where a whole bunch of people who are ineligible to vote because they're non-citizens end up getting registered. This is all policy choice. And we win this battle when we highlight this battle. So I need your help on something. I need you to go to seattlered.com, click on this story, and share this story. Don't just read it. Please do. But don't just read it. seattlered.com, click on my blog, share it on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Share it everywhere you can. Truth Social, Blue Sky, trigger those people. You can go to our social media channels, hit the repeat or retweet button or the share button. We got to get more eyeballs on this. People don't realize that this bill is being discussed. I didn't even know it until I saw an article in the Center Square. And they caught wind of it late, too. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in Olympia, and we miss it sometimes. That's the unfortunate reality when you've got hundreds and hundreds of bills being promoted, being discussed, being pitched. And sometimes small ones that are really impactful get through. This is one of them. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? The economy.
Another day, another significant bit of good economic news that caught a lot of liberals off guard. In fact, it also angered a whole lot of liberals who don't want to see this kind of news. But over at CNN, their reporter Matt Egan, who covers business and the economy, he was raving about a report about a new consumer price index showing inflation is cooling, despite the fact that we're told inflation is going to continue to go through the roof. How many times have we heard that? Seriously, how many times have we been told because of the tariffs, inflation's going to go up, cost of living is going to continue to remain high, even though Democrats are the ones who are responsible for it? We were told that over and over and over again. But then, bam, all of a sudden, things are a little bit different. All of a sudden, we see numbers that look pretty great. Pretty great. So this is Matt Egan.
This is some encouraging news on the cost of living, right? Inflation took a big step in the right direction to start the year off. So consumer prices up by 2.4% year over year. That is an improvement from 2.7% in December that beat expectations, which were for 2.5%. In fact, this is a new 8-month low for annual inflation, month over month. Prices up by 0.2%. Also a step in the right direction, also beating expectation. Now, economists look really closely at core inflation, which excludes food and energy. Core inflation came in at 2.5%. That's notable because that's the lowest annual inflation rate for core since March of 2021, before the inflation crisis. Now, while we can't exclude food and energy from our family budgets, that's important because economists say that's a better indicator for where inflation is going. And when you look at the trend for inflation over the last few years, you can see there's been some improvement, right? It's been a little bit bumpy on this.
It's been a little bit bumpy, yes. But again, we were told that it wasn't going to improve at all. And even saying the improvement is bumpy is different than what we were told. We were told of a coming apocalypse. That's what we were told, courtesy of the Democrats.
Sure, it's been bumpy, but it has improved. There was this uptick in inflation starting last spring after the president slapped massive tariffs on imports. Inflation started to heat back up to 3%, but thankfully it's trending back down. Now, when we look at some of the notable categories as far as what people are seeing at the store, especially the grocery store, a couple things stand out. And not all of it's good. Bad news, uncooked ground beef. Look at this, 17% more expensive year over year. Kate, that's the biggest increase since the middle of 2020 during COVID. Wow. Also, piped gas, that's natural gas.
And by the way, just real quickly, on the beef thing, and we've talked about this, this is not even, and I would say this during the Biden administration too. Beef specifically, the problem is we have a cattle shortage, and it takes a long time before you get to a point where you can meet the demand that brings the cost down. This is not tied to any sort of policy choice on either side of the aisle. This is not a Democrat or Republican thing. And even looking at piped gas, okay, well, gas prices as a whole for your car are down dramatically.
10%, we know that's been a problem. Electricity, that continues to be another source of frustration, up by 6%. However, also some good news. Look at this, egg prices plunging by 34%. That's the biggest decline for eggs since.
Remember, by the way, when Democrats pretended to care about the price of eggs when they were up. I mean, not when they were up during the Biden administration, but when they were still a little high during the early parts of the Trump era, part two. they were complaining, even though it was lower than what it was under Biden.
Since 2016, back when Obama was in the White House, and gasoline prices, which of course was such a major problem for so long, they were down by 8%. Now, all of this is notable, especially the food prices, because Americans in polling continue to say that they're really frustrated by prices. Yeah. This is an AP poll that came out just yesterday, and it found that more than half of Americans, 53%, say that they find the cost of groceries is a major source of stress in their
lives. And yet the amount of, real savings now going down. Again, this is nothing but good news. And it's happening at a time in which this administration is truly banking on polling starting to switch up come April with the refund checks. That a lot of what it is we're experiencing right now, they're saying is going to kind of go away. They're willing to get hit in the polling a little bit because they know they're going to continue to get good number after good number after good number, good result after good result. We had earlier in the week a larger than expected job growth number, which I will say, because we were talking about it with Lauren Simonetti early in the week from Fox Business, the expectation, even coming from the White House, seemed to be, at best, they're going to say it was somewhat stable. But then they had a huge number come in, huge number. And a lot of that was driven by healthcare, but it was, despite the fact that they're lessening or I don't know, shrinking the federal government, they spurred on hiring in the private sector, which is better for all of us. It's better for the job market. It's better for the economy when we get it that way. But that's really good news there. And then you get this. And then just a few weeks from now, right? I mean, April's going to be here before you know it. You're going to get significant refund checks. That's great. And even today, just looking at the stock market, we talk about stock market gains on the show during my commercials with Legacy Group Capital because, there's a lot of money that's on the sidelines not being used because people are just a little bit scared. Well, look at what just happened. Today, the market exploded. It had absolutely exploded on the news, and everyone's feeling really, really good. Everyone's feeling really good. And sometimes it's just about the feeling. Sometimes it's literally just about the feeling. But I know a lot of Democrats are very upset by this news, which makes me happy. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending in King County?
We're now hearing from Martin Moore, the now former Federal Way City Council president who was voted out of his position, out of that leadership role, after he posted a social media message pushing for students to go into the anti-ICE walkouts. And as we told you yesterday when we covered this story, this is a guy who was leading a city council that's supposed to be as apolitical, nonpartisan as possible. And that's the best kind of city council, a city council that's focused on the issues, not focused on partisan politics. And so for him to do what he did wasn't just controversial in and of itself, but was really the wrong message for a council president in a council that's trying to be nonpartisan. So they booted him from that leadership position. He's still on the council. He's just not going to be the president anymore. So he goes on with our sister station's Gia and Ursula show on Cairo News Radio and said, oh no, my message was I just wanted to reassure students and the immigrant families. I'm a hero. Pat me on the back.
They're looking for leaders. They're saying, do you see me? Do you hear me? Do you hear my concerns? And my intent was to do that and to also let them know.
You mean pander? Is that what you mean? What should he have just used the term pander?
No, that I'm proud of them for getting away from their screens and their phones and actually advocating, using their voice.
He's proud that they're getting away from their screens and using their voice. What a liar. I can't stand that kind of stuff. I'm just so glad that they're getting involved civically. If these students were getting out there and wearing MAGA hats, do you actually think Martin Moore would say exactly what he just said? Do you honestly think he would come out and defend them if they were coming out in support of being pro-life? If these were conservative students or students taking a conservative cause, there would not be this level of support. And we all know it. We all know it. It's so pathetic how they just lie. And he shared this on his official council account. He ended up having to delete it. This is not someone who was trying to just, encourage the youth to get more involved.
Politics played into it. And I think some of the council members weaponized it. They looked for this opportunity and they created a very divisive moment for the council. And they're the ones that created the divisive moment in our community.
Okay, not you. Your inclination to get involved here was not political. It was everybody else. It was everyone else. And by the way, the Federal City Council has Democrats on board and Republicans and down the middle people. Like, it's just so ludicrous. That's why he deleted the post. He knows he wasn't supposed to do it. He knew it. And people point out that he's got a pattern of using his position to advance partisan political issues, and they just don't want to deal with it anymore. And they're right not to want to. So kudos to the Federal Way City Council for doing the right thing. Speaking of doing the right thing, Chevy pricing is basically the same everywhere. MSRP is MSRP. The difference is not the car you purchase. It's what you get after you buy it. And that's why the Sunset Auto family keeps winning. That's why customers keep choosing them. Sunset Chevrolet, #1 in Washington. You just get more at Sunset. And people do like that. SunsetAutoFamily.com. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
Washington Democrats are still moving forward with a state income tax. And of course, they're presenting this purely as going after millionaires. We know that, of course, is absolute nonsense. It's not only going to impact millionaires. In fact, it's written not to merely go after millionaires, especially when you look at the household income that they're going to tax. Joining me on the line to discuss is Americans for Prosperity Region Director Heather Andrews. Heather, you guys just put out a statement against this. You're obviously working both publicly and privately to try to bring some common sense to Olympia. Is this a failed push? I mean, it seems like the Democrats are just not going to listen.
Right. No, I don't think it's a failed push. I think, the more people that understand this issue, as you said, they're billing it one way, but it absolutely opens the door for broader income taxation and makes the state less competitive. And as you know, Jason, Washingtonians have rejected an income tax 11 times. And so I don't think this is a failed effort. I think that they're just being tone deaf. And I think if enough people, hopefully, speak out in opposition, my hope is that the House listens and might be the smarter body that takes and gets the message that this is not going to help anyone.
What do you think is it going to really take? We've already seen a historic number of people weighing in Olympia on this piece of legislation. Again, Democrats just completely ignored it. So what do you think needs to happen for the House to take this more seriously?
I think it's going to take a lot of individuals connecting to their state representatives
directly.
And, directly contacting them. That's why we have activated our grassroots, activists across the state to educate them, to sound the alarm, how this proposal would hurt small businesses, job creators. We just created this really simple website called taxedenoughwa.com, where people can just click a button and send a message directly to their state representative saying, we don't want this. We've rejected this 11 times. Enough is enough. And this right now.
And it's incredibly powerful to speak directly to your representative. You got to do it civilly, of course, but being that person who takes just a couple minutes to make a phone call or send an email directly does get noticed. They may not publicly want to talk about it, but I guarantee you privately, they're asking themselves whether or not this is the right move.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that there's enough swing districts, you could say, where it's tough to get some of these people, elected into office. They're just barely winning their seats. Yep. And so you have no idea the impact one or two individuals could make by just reaching out directly to their state representative and asking them to, oppose this income tax proposal. It can actually make an impact and difference.
Can you speak to what a tax like this would mean for startups in particular, but just innovative businesses
absolutely. Here? Right. So small, and that's the thing is that I think a lot of people are looking at this and just saying, oh, well, that sounds good. But, actually small family-owned businesses that file as pass-throughs, often show higher revenues, but they're taking home far less. And this bill would absolutely impact them. And it really fails to ensure meaningful relief for families and these businesses. And as you know, and you've spoken to this, Washington's no income tax status has helped build this innovation hub where, highly skilled individuals can come into the state and have collaborated on cutting edge, innovative products and services that have helped the state kind of thrive that way. And unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of those, signaling, hey, I'm leaving. This is going to hurt me. This is going to hurt my small business. This is going to hurt job creators. This is going to majorly impact and hurt Washington's economic competitiveness. There's states right, next door that would welcome these businesses to come. And they're, these owners are very smart and wise to say, I'm going to take this elsewhere, take my business elsewhere. I'm going to take this innovation elsewhere. And that's where it's going to hurt so many people, that trickle down effect.
What's the response been so far? Obviously, I'm aware of business owners, large and small, speaking out.
Mm-hmm.
But have we seen any indication that they're ready to move?
Yeah, absolutely. No, they've a lot of them have signaled we're out. If this passes, we're done. This is kind of a line in the sand that if crossed, they've said, we're done. There's a large percentage. I think you probably know the statistics better, but there's like a large, it's bumped up significantly in the double digits of those that are like, I'm done. I'm shutting down my business. I'm moving elsewhere. And it's smart of them to do so because they won't. They'll be able to. They will. They're just trying to create opportunities for everyone. And unfortunately, I think the Democrats don't see that and don't understand and are not connected to how this is going to impact every single person in the state of Washington.
It's not easy for folks to just pack up and close down a business, move it elsewhere. But when they get to the point where it's between literal survival and not, they're going to choose survival if they care about what it is they do. Again, we've been talking with Heather Andrews. She's with Americans for Prosperity. What was the website one more time for people to visit so they can pass along that info?
Yeah, so we've launched the campaign Taxed Enough Washington. As you know, Jason, they passed historic tax increases last session.
Yep.
And so they're looking at passing additional, including, there's more, but including this massive income tax. So you can go to taxedenoughwa.com to learn more and to send a direct message to your legislator opposing this proposal.
Taxedenoughwa.com. It takes just a couple minutes to get your voices heard, and it could actually mean something. It can actually kill this income tax, but only if we're unified, only for civil. But we got to make sure that they know that we're aware of what it is they're doing, and there will be political consequences if they go ahead and move forward as if our voices don't count. Heather, as always, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason.
You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show. When we come back, we're going to dive into the big local. This hour brought to you by the Northwest Safe Company.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. The big wireless companies say they have discounts for people over 55. But unless you're willing to sit on hold and ask, you're probably paying more than you should. At Consumer Cellular, there's nothing to hunt down. We're built for people 50 plus with plans starting at just $20. And our 100% US-based customer service actually answers the phone. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today and get your second month free for a limited time.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. And now, during our President's Day sale, take 50% off our limited edition bed. Plus, free premium delivery with any bed and base. Ends Monday. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com.
Jason Rantz here from my friends over at Northwest Safe in Enumclaw. Gold and silver prices are surging. Your precious metals, that means it's become an even bigger target. One break-in can wipe out all of that hard work. And this is why, one of the many reasons why, people call Northwest Safe, your local Liberty Safe dealer. Whether it's over the phone or in person or online, their expert sales staff help guide you to the right safe to protect your valuables. They've been doing this as a family-owned and operated business since 1988. And because they're an exclusive Liberty Safe dealer, you get better pricing and exclusive rebates. Plus, the stock that's on display, it's massive. It's insane. They've got you covered for all of your needs. And of course, it's not just about protecting your precious metals. Firearms, documents, jewelry, anything you need to keep safe, they can help. And if you need help choosing, their expert sales team, including Kale and David, they're going to do a personal video walkthrough that helps you find the perfect fit. So visit them online at nwsafe.com. That's nwsafe.com. You can call 1-888-404-SAFE. That's 888-404-SAFE. Or visit them in Enumclaw at Northwest Safe.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
For almost 50 years, over 90,000 homeowners have trusted Home Comfort Alliance, including me, John Curley here. If comfort and energy savings matter to you, now you can save up to $2,000 on new heating and cooling systems. Home Comfort Alliance will replace your old system with one tailored to your home's layout while optimizing efficiency. Visit HomeComfortAlliance.com. Save up to $2,000 and schedule a free consultation for heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical. Call the comfort people. Home Comfort Alliance.
Mitch here at Leathers, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. There's too much stress in America today. I cannot solve this national affliction, and I cannot run for president as I'm only 74. What I can do is offer you stress-free chairs at our lowest prices of the season. Fjord's factory-authorized sale is going on now. Save hundreds to thousands of dollars on these tailored stress relievers in gorgeous colors that swivel, glide, recline, or even lift. So lessen your stress. Treat yourself to a Fjord's recliner at Leathers Fjord sale in Issaquah now.
Sammamish, Kent, Olympia, Everett.
This is the Big Local on the Jason Rantz Show.
Centralia, Lakewood.
Stories about you, not about Seattle.
Hey, look at that. Look at the time. 4:30 on a weekday afternoon. That means it's time for the Big Local. Brought to you by the Scott Jennings Show. Heard weeknights 8 to 10 right here on Seattle Red 770 AM. This is the part of the show where we completely ignore the stories coming out of Seattle, and instead we focus all of our attention on the communities you live in and care about most. We start in Tukwila, where if you want to understand the divide when it comes to immigration, just look at Tukwila right now. There's a new office for ICE that's opening in Tukwila. Activists are pretty upset. They're mobilizing in opposition. We've seen already in the city we don't talk about in this segment, Seattle. They're pushing forward with an emergency proposal to stop any kind of facility being opened in their city, even though no one's looking to open in that city. But according to our friends over at mynorthwest.com, critics are saying that this is a threat to immigrant communities, and so they're demanding everyone resist. Now, the basic reality is that ICE is a federal law enforcement agency, and it enforces federal immigration law. Whether or not you like the laws doesn't really matter, but they're enacted by Congress. They're signed by the president. That's how the system works. If you don't like it, as Tom Homan has said many times, go protest Congress. You shouldn't be protesting ICE. Congress has this power. But they're opening this new office space in Tukwila. It's not a detention center, by the way. It's not even some like secret compound. It's just an administrative office, an operational office. And this is just a workspace for federal officers and their support staff. They obviously need infrastructure. They need spaces to conduct interviews or manage paperwork, coordinate operations, but also, get people the assistance that they need when they need it. This is not new. ICE has operated in Washington State for years. They've been operating here since the inception, I think, of ICE as a department. The idea that simply having an office space in Tukwila is some sort of unprecedented escalation obviously doesn't hold up. And yet the activists are treating this as if federal agents setting up desks inside of a building that's being leased out is some sort of act of aggression. But again, these people are triggered by the notion that there is immigration enforcement. They are merely triggered by that notion. It's disturbing. And oftentimes they claim that just the mere presence of ICE creates fear. People are just scared. They argue that immigrant families will now feel targeted, that this represents expansion of enforcement at a time when we need enforcement to be scaled back. Think about all of the rapists who are being detained. Think about their families. But what's missing from this left-wing narrative is that immigration enforcement is federal law and deportation orders exist. The deportation orders are there. Criminal non-citizens exist. I know folks on the left want us to pretend otherwise because no human is illegal. But they exist. Visa overstays exist. Human trafficking and immigration fraud exist. Pretending those realities disappear because the activists are uncomfortable doesn't actually make our community safer. Just the opposite. It makes us less safe. It makes enforcement harder. And when local government or activists try to block or intimidate federal agencies from operating, they are standing in opposition to justice. They're undermining the rule of law. I'm not shocked by any of that, but let's just call it what it is. This is the part that gets deliberately blurred. Supporting ICE having an office doesn't mean opposing legal immigration. It doesn't mean hostility toward immigrants. We still admit over 1 million illegal immigrants every single year. There is a lawful pathway. You can argue it needs reform, and I agree with you. But there is a lawful pathway. The only way into this country is not illegally. That's the only wrong way into this country. What ICE deals with are civil immigration violations, and in many cases, individuals who have already committed additional crimes. And so when these activists show up outside of this Tukwila office demanding an abolition of ICE or blocking its operations, they rarely, in fact, not even rarely, they never distinguish between a law-abiding green card holder and someone with a removal order over a criminal record. And that distinction actually matters. If you believe laws should be changed, change them through Congress. Again, follow Tom Homan's advice. This fight in Tukwila looks like what we've seen in this general region for years and around the country, certainly for the last year. Local activists trying to nullify federal enforcement by creating political pressure campaigns. And in some cities or counties or states, that means sanctuary policies. In others, it means protests outside of federal buildings. Or I guess in this case, it means outrage over an office lease. And the irony is that many of the same voices demanding more public safety in their neighborhoods simultaneously oppose the agency tasked with removing people who have violated immigration law. You can't say you care about the rule of law in one context and you want to go after crime and yet reject it in another because it's politically inconvenient. Or do you think simply labeling something fascism is enough? This is not a crisis in Tukwila. It's the federal government carrying out its statutory responsibilities. And again, argue for reform if you want, criticize specific enforcement priorities if you want. Okay, that's fair game in a democracy. But condemning the mere presence of an office, that's it. That's something else entirely. These people are absolute lunatics. Meanwhile, I kind of love this story. Out in Spokane on I-90, there was a desperate attempt for a free ride that turned into a dangerous act when someone was seen riding on the back of a moving ambulance. It happened 4 a.m. yesterday. The unidentified person was clutching to the back of the ambulance as it was driving eastbound on I-90. In a written statement from the ambulance company to the Spokesman Review, they say this type of incident is extremely rare for AMR, and the safety of our patients, our crews, and the public is always our top priority. Upon becoming aware, our crew member immediately pulled over safely and notified our dispatch center as soon as possible. Washington State was contacted and the individual left before they arrived. We don't have any individual information about the guy. Now, there is some video footage that shows nearby cars flashing their lights to try to get the ambulance driver to realize what was going on, because I can't imagine, it's always easy to realize that there's a human being who is attaching himself to the back of your ambulance. But you could see in the video that the driver turns on its emergency lights and then slowly moves over to the shoulder. And again, I didn't see any individual that there were any reporting that says that they had anyone inside of the ambulance at the time. So I guess it ended well. And then finally, Burien police found a missing boy earlier this morning, but he's in trouble because they found him behind the wheel of a stolen Honda Civic. And that's shocking to me. A teenager stealing a car allegedly in Burien of all places? No, that can't be. Happened just after midnight. The car was spotted without any lights on. A Burien deputy pulled the car over. The driver, who's not old enough to even have a learner's permit, had been previously reported missing, I guess, by the family. And so they ended up taking him into the juvenile detention center. They wouldn't take him because he claimed he smoked a pound of fentanyl, which is an easy way to get out of going to jail. So it looks like we've got a winner here. This is a life winner. The deputy took him to the hospital, which cleared the boy to be sent back to juvenile detention. So ultimately, he ended up still getting sent back. Good for whomever that Burien deputy is, King County Sheriff's Office. Good for that person. Because oftentimes when you get this, especially when you're like really, really busy, they end up taking you to a hospital and then you have to go, and so they end up just releasing the person. That's their get out of jail free card. Not today, Satan. Oh, God, I love that. And kudos to Russell Johnson. Kudos to him. Russell Wilson for giving us that line. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. When we come back, Jake Skorheim from our sister station stops by. We're going to talk about the perils of AI and what happens when AI starts to bully you. Yeah, that's actually happening. We'll get into it when we return on the Jason Rantz Show.
Guy Benson here. I've been telling you all about the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Adam and I are doing the program together. We have lost a combined 40 pounds. We are ecstatic with these results. And I just look at myself in the mirror every morning. I'm like, oh, hello. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm loving how I'm feeling every day. Cookie's on the program as well. Christine, I know you're getting results. You're losing weight. The compliments are also flowing in.
100%. I feel like I have more energy. People are telling me that my skin is glowing, my hair looks shinier, and the best part, aside from the weight loss, is I'm sleeping so much better.
I know it's a cliche to say it really works, but it really does work, and it's very, very exciting. And if you need that motivation to try this yourself, and deep down you know that you need it, you've just been putting it off, this is the moment. Call the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, talk to them for 15 minutes, then you can make a decision. I recommend it highly. EastsideWeightLossClinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. For years, our sponsor, Sunset Ford, has told you something the rest of the car industry doesn't like to admit. Every Ford dealer pays the exact same price for new vehicles from the factory. Same car, same cost, down to the penny. Now, that's not an opinion. That's a fact. No Ford dealer has a pricing advantage over another when it comes to what they pay for Fords. None. So how can a dealer sell for less? It's simple economics. And that's what Sunset Ford deals in, simple economics. They have a lower cost of doing business so they can pass those savings on to you. Now, not everyone's able to do that. Not everyone's willing to do that. Sunset Auto Family, they are. But think about it. You've got some massive city dealerships with flashy multi-million-dollar facilities, an army of employees. That's really expensive. But compare that to a dealership with the same Ford inventory, purchased for the same price, but located in Sumner. Lower overhead means lower prices. So ask yourself, which dealer can save you money and still include warranty protection for life and oil protections for life? No Ford dealer can sell you a new Ford for less than Sunset Ford of Sumner. You just get more at Sunset. And people do like that. SunsetAutoFamily.com.
Thanks for calling CM Heating. How can I help?
Yeah, hi. Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
Yep, that's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is absolutely free.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so we'll help you save the most and even handle the rebate process start to finish.
Amazing, but what if I just need a furnace?
All good. Furnaces start at just $69.99 a month. And don't forget to ask about our clean air upgrades, because with all the smoke from wildfires, these systems filter out pollen, dust, and harmful particles, keeping the air in your home clean and healthy all year long.
Sweet.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, a free furnace you'll love for years, and cleaner air for your home. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, total home comfort, and electrical service,
There's no beating CM Heating.
At the UPS Store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable.
Progressive Insurance knows pets, and one of the biggest differences between people and pets is that we don't eat things off the floor. But dogs definitely will, and it makes them so happy, no matter what it looks like, smells like, or what state of decomposition it's in. We all want to go through life that carefree, and that's also why you should get Progressive Pet Insurance, because they eat things off the floor. So protect your pet from all the questionable life decisions they make. You know where they drink from when you're gone, right? Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on a Friday. That means Jake Skorheim from the hot and hip new show. All the kids are talking about Jake and Spike on our sister station, Car News Radio, noon to 3.
Thanks for having me.
So I saw this article in the Wall Street Journal, and the title alone caught my attention. When AI bots start bullying humans, even Silicon Valley gets rattled. And just the first couple lines. Scott Shambaugh woke up early Wednesday morning to learn that an artificial intelligence bot had written a blog post accusing him of hypocrisy and prejudice. The 1,100-word screed called the Denver-based engineer insecure and biased against AI, all because he had rejected a few lines of code that the apparently autonomous bot had submitted to a popular open-source project Shambaugh helps maintain. The unexpected AI aggression is part of a rising wave of warnings that fast accelerating AI capabilities can create real-world harms. And I was thinking about this in the context of all the movies we've seen about the rise of robots, and obviously some
Terminator,
of the underlying
T2.
Concerns around, you can't just be the Terminator.
Terminator 3.
Rise and resist. But the context leading into AI is, some of the concern at least is, what if they become smarter than us? They're already smarter than us, but what if they become autonomous and can start to rule things and enslave us all?
iRobot.
Doesn't this push us in that direction?
Yes. Yes.
By the way, you didn't even mention the movie AI.
The Steven Spielberg movie?
Yeah.
With Haley Joel Osment
Yes.
and Jude Law?
Yes.
I didn't see it.
Feels like that should be the first one that comes out of
No,
your
I
mouth.
didn't see it.
How concerned are you with the rise about artificial intelligence? What is your level of concern?
How concerned am I about AI? I don't understand AI.
Yes, you do.
I understand
Terminator.
I understand Terminator. I understand one aspect of AI. I was reading this article the other day about AI, and it basically said AI has now been widely implemented in most businesses as a best practice.
Mm-hmm.
And what they found was it's not actually making people work faster. What it is doing is makes them very, very busy. So they use AI. So let's say in the old days, you would send an email. Now, this is probably not true across the board. Obviously, some people can accomplish more with AI sending emails and things like that. But it is having people now where they used to just send an email and it would be written as you. They will now read it and then put it through AI. So the AI is having an opinion as well on how the email should sound. So that
to edit it.
So that the recipient knows that this email should feel nice. Or you can say, make this email feel friendlier or whatever it is. It's just adding all these different layers. Now, are those the best thing for society that we're constantly
friendlier?
No, I don't
Shut
know.
up, stupid.
Yeah, I don't know if that is. I don't know if it is.
Well, I'm wondering. So, in circumstances like that, I am legitimately curious as to whether or not the person who edits through AI even reads the edit or just writes the draft, puts it into Chat GPT or whatever,
sends it off.
and says, "Make this friendlier."
Yeah,
and then they just copy and paste and send it. Because I don't know if
they're trusting AI more than themselves.
Yes. Or they're just not necessarily more than themselves, but they just trust AI. And so whatever it comes up with, it's going to be fine. I don't even need to read it, and then you're sending it over. And I use AI sometimes to edit my writing.
Sure.
And I go back and I read some of the things. I was like, that's not what I said at all. And
Correct.
you've just added stuff to it. And I don't even know where that came from.
Yeah.
And that just seems worrisome. I haven't seen it in the context of, because I don't use it to sound friendly, because I'm not friendly and people would know AI wrote that email.
In fact, you write too friendly, and then you say, make this sound more like me.
Yes.
Who's angry.
I'm like, this is way too friendly. Can you make this more like Jason Rantz? Then they insert a bunch of expletives and passive-aggressive insults.
There you go. The other thing that I find interesting about AI, and I think just time will tell, is so technology is being forced on kids from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like schools have all adopted screens. Almost every school that your kid is in, probably at some point during the day, are handed a personal computer, and they are using those personal computers for things like
porn,
hopefully not porn, math or whatever it is.
Dark web.
Those things used to be done with a pencil and paper
selling.
in class, and now you're reading assignments on the computer. Whatever.
Do they do that at your kids' schools?
They do. Yeah.
Is it a lot?
Hand them computers?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, much more than I would like, which I would like almost none. Like when I was a kid, we had typing class, which I understand kind of dates me, on a typewriter. But what I don't like is this idea now that you need this other thing to accomplish what people use their brains to do before. Like there was this ad.
We're going to get dumber and lazier.
We're getting dumber and lazier.
For sure.
And there
it's
was
that Disney movie or the Pixar movie.
Yes, exactly.
Whatever it was called.
Whatever that one.
Hero,
AI. What was that called?
Hero something? No.
We'll
figure it out.
We'll figure it out. There is this service.
Fat Humans Animation Pixar.
WALL-E.
WALL-E. WALL-E.
WALL-E.
That was a great movie.
Great movie. Yeah, really good. And the lesson of that was don't rely too much on technology.
Yep.
And it's true. There's a service now that they push on kids where it says like, if you don't know how to sound like yourself, sound more like yourself by putting it through this AI thing, which I think is really awful.
That is themselves. That's who they are.
That's who they are. If you don't know the language and you don't know how to write and you don't know punctuation, all those different things, which should be vital to understand, especially when you become an adult, the fix is to learn them. The fix is not to put them through an AI machine to fix everything for you. But that's what is going to happen. It's just going to happen. It's in everything. It's pervasive. It's everywhere.
Well, it's like the joke that I used to make of a skill that I no longer really have is literal handwriting.
Yeah. Cursive.
Cursive handwriting. Yeah. And there was Pam Roach, former wonderfully passionate lawmaker here, tried to push a bill that would mandate handwriting training and for students. And that never went anywhere because we generally accept now you don't really have to handwrite anything.
No.
You just don't have to do that. And I'm generally okay with that because you're still using your brain to come up with the words. But now you're not even using your brain to come up with the words that you're typing on a tweet or in an email or in a memo.
Yeah, it's true. And the other thing, they've done research into this, and I believe it because I've experienced, you and I are very fortunate because we have experienced both worlds, pre and post technology.
We were here for dial-up.
And one of the things that they have confirmed is a real thing is when you are learning something new and you're taking the information in, you're processing it, and you're then putting it out through your hand, whether it be like when you're a kid and you're doing your writing exercises or whatever it is, you're learning it in a whole other way because you're also writing it out.
It's like some tactile learning.
There's a physical property that takes place which helps you and your brain store that somewhere that you're not storing when you're just like mindlessly punching stuff into a computer or not even that. You're not even typing anymore. A lot of people are just talking now. Like you're not even doing the work of typing, which I think is kind of awesome when I'm driving.
All your texts to me
they're all talk to text.
Every single one.
Yeah.
You've never actually used your keyboard.
That's true. You can tell my tell my embarrassing one. Go ahead.
Which one?
The smiley face.
He literally, in the text, it said smiley face.
Yes.
Which meant he wanted the smiley face emoji to come up on the text, and it just said
smiley face.
I can't remember what the sentence was, but it was some
you
and
sent
then
me
it
a funny
just
video.
said smiley face.
You sent me a funny video. I said, oh, that's hilarious.
Smiley face.
I meant a smiley face, like emoji, and it said smiley face, which was stupid. And then you immediately, because you're not friendly, in your jerk mode, you screenshotted that and said, ha, you talked to text, smiley face, and sent it to me. So yeah, people are just getting...
That's all you do. And you do, because I've been in a car with you when you did this.
Yeah.
And you're like talking to your phone and you'll say, write to John, the baseball game is starting in 15 minutes.
Sure,
like you're not even having a natural conversation.
Well, you want to make it, the talk to text is a
I think
disaster.
it's better now.
It's better now, but it can also give you a lot of
emojis.
mistakes. Yeah, and it does not do emojis well, and it cannot spell names for crap.
Yeah, the only part I don't understand, and I feel like I would use this more often, but I don't know how to get it to use punctuation beyond the obvious. Like if you want to dash.
I say it out loud.
But it sometimes writes dash, or it used to. And what about a new paragraph or a capital or, to your point, like spelling names?
I don't know how to make a new paragraph. I've tried that before. Where
It'll just type out new paragraph.
Yeah. Or I'll say like space, or I've tried it all, and it will just say space.
It's weird.
It's not a perfect system, but it's better for that. It's better than texting while you're driving. So I just talk through my car usually when I'm doing that.
And do you say LOL or haha and see how it picks it up?
I will say ha exclamation point.
Haha! Exclamation point.
What I hate though is when it reads it back to you,
yeah,
and it tries to like use the same emphasis that it thinks that you intend. So like my car, when I say thanks, so somebody sends me something and I'll respond like because I'm polite. I'll say thanks, exclamation point. And so my car will go, who has a female voice. I don't know how to change that, but it'll have a female voice and it will say, thanks. And I went, no, that's not it. Like, that's not what I'm not saying thanks like that. I'm just said thanks.
Do you think if it was a male voice, it would be different?
Yeah, it would be cooler. The guy would just say,
Sexist.
Thanks, man. It's cool,
Thanks,
dude.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, bro.
I changed the voice on my Siri. It's British.
All of this entire conversation, I'd like to hear that. I don't know how to do that, but I'd like to hear that.
Hey, Siri, what's the weather? Oh, wait, I have to turn it on. Hey, Siri, what's the weather?
It's currently cloudy and 45 degrees. Today's high will be 47 and the low will be 41.
That's very nice.
Is it? It's very pleasant.
How do you do that?
I don't remember, but there's a setting in
I'll
there
bet
that
you I
you
can ask
change.
AI.
They have
Full
a
circle.
bunch of different versions.
Full circle back to the AI stuff. It's completely changing the way that we are operating as humans. And I just don't know if such a drastic change so quickly is a good idea.
It's too quick.
It's too quick. It feels too quick for me. I saw a video the other day by the CEO of Microsoft AI, who was saying that in the next 12 to 18 months, basically every job that exists right now, every white-collar job where you're interfacing with the computer screen will be changing fairly dramatically. And I'm just wondering what that...
I believe that.
Yeah. But we are creatures
Except
of
for radio.
We're creatures of routine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our jobs actually kind of become more valuable because AI is not going to be able to replicate stupid thought because it's pretty smart.
Well, I'm smarter than an AI software, so I don't know. There's this service that I tested. It almost did it perfectly. You put your voice into it and you read a bunch of different sentences and words and stuff, and then it can mimic your voice and then do an entire monologue. And it's good if I just spoke like this and did not have any. It actually sounds just like me, but it doesn't
Without
do the
any
inflection.
inflection,
And that was like a year and a half ago when I did it. So I imagine it's way better now.
Really?
This entire segment for people at home is actually being done by AI voices.
We
We're
are
not
computers.
here. We are not here.
We are not here.
I haven't. Jake doesn't even exist.
What is
Not
it,
even
Jake?
a real person. Aha! Explanation point.
Thanks.
That's Jake and Spike, noon to 3 on our sister station, County News Radio. You can also subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Believe it or not, winter doesn't have to win this year. Win a 7-day trip for two to Maya Heights Resort in Belize. The trip includes round-trip airfare from Seattle, airport transfers, your own private mountainside cabin, and 10% off every meal, drink, and adventure tour at the resort. Maya Heights Village Resort in Belize is part of Flower World's 1,000-acre farm. Maya Heights cabins, nestled 500 feet up, overlook the Caribbean Sea. Wake up to sunshine mornings, swim in shimmering pools, or visit the farm, home to cattle, pigs, sheep, and lots more. Leave the farm and you can explore river caves, waterfalls, ancient ruins, and the stunning Caribbean Sea. Or simply sit still and let the sun do its work. Visit MayaHeights.com to enter. No purchase necessary. MayaHeights.com. A 7-day trip for two to Maya Heights Resort in Belize could be yours. From Flower World, a world of flowers, plants, and a whole lot more. Bonneville Seattle and Seattle Red are looking for organizations that regularly distribute information about employment opportunities to job applicants or have job applicants to refer. If your organization would like to receive notifications of job vacancies, please notify Human Resources at 1820 East Lake Avenue East, Seattle, Washington, 98102, or email us at seattlealljobs@bonneville.com or call 206-726-6902. Bonneville is an equal opportunity employer.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Jeff's day is off to a slow start. So he heads to AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination, where Sammy, a local AutoZoner, tests his battery for free. Looks like he just needs a charge. And Sammy does that for free too. In no time at all, Jeff is back on the road, ready to finish the day strong. Free battery testing and charging at every store. No hassles, just help. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like rugs. People say a rug would really bring the room together. And sure, you don't know what that means, but it sounds important. Suddenly you're using words like jute and sisal. Then you see the price and lose it, because how can the thing you walk and spill on cost so much? So you devote your life to taking down Big Rug. But then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds. So, looks like Big Rug is safe. For now. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
They don't have to turn over data. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A judge says the Trump administration can't force states to hand over detailed information about people who get SNAP benefits.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture had required states to turn over information about people on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. They wanted details on their immigration status. 22 states sued over that policy because of concerns that the Agriculture Department would illegally share the information with immigration enforcement authorities. The Ag Department kept pushing for it, saying it would stop paying state SNAP administrative costs if they don't comply. But a U.S. District Court judge now says she's going to issue an order against the policy. The Trump administration says that data is needed to help cut fraud.
Fox's Jill Nato. President Trump calling on Iran to come to the table and make a deal on their nuclear program or risk retaliation from the U.S.
Give us the deal that they should have given us the first time. If they give us the right deal, we won't do that.
Earlier today, the president ordered a second aircraft carrier to the Middle East. He also told reporters this afternoon a change in power in Iran would be the best thing that could happen. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos says the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie is deepening. He spoke with Fox's Jonathan Hunt.
We found DNA. And
that was not Nancy Guthrie's DNA.
That was not Nancy Guthrie's DNA. So we'll still work with that, and we're working with our lab on that.
This as the FBI has increased the reward for information in the Guthrie case to $100,000. The 84-year-old mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie has been missing for 13 days. The Pentagon says Joint Task Force Southern Spear has conducted a strike on a suspected drug boat in the Caribbean, killing 3 people. America is listening to Fox News.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Folks! The yellow light! I'm walking here! I'm walking!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, streaming on the Seattle Red app. Tiffany Smiley, former senator candidate from right here in Washington. She's the founder of the Endeavor PAC. How will the great economic news that we've received this week impact the midterms? Or are we way too far away from the midterms for that to matter? Plus, Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, is she truly vulnerable, the quote-unquote moderate Democrat in Washington's 3rd congressional district? Tiffany will break it all down. But first, it took a while, but finally, a growing and dangerous homeless encampment in Seattle has been cleared in what's being called the first test of Katie Wilson's homelessness strategy. Oh, yeah, that's a big test. That's what's trending.
What's trending? The homelessness crisis.
According to the Seattle Times, this massive and long-standing homeless encampment in Ballard in the city of Seattle was cleared this morning in what they're calling this massive test of the socialist mayor's strategy around homelessness. And I'm not entirely sure it's that much of a test because it's not that much different than what we've done in the past. In fact, it's not different really at all, except the mayor is paying slightly more attention, I suppose. I mean, we've dealt with this strategy before, which is allow a homeless encampment to grow and grow and grow and grow. Then say you're going to clear it, then don't actually clear it, and then come back and say, okay, we're going to offer more resources to the people who won't even take us up on them. And then they stay there, and then finally you clear it. And that's exactly what happened this time around. So I'm not sure how this is any different than what we've done before, other than, it's large in scope. There's one resident, John, who spoke with Cairo 7.
They had caution tape all around it. There was, I think, 2 police cruisers and the largest amount of Parks Department crew I've ever seen at a campsite.
Now, maybe. I obviously wasn't there. I've seen some video and photographs. It didn't seem that huge to me, but it wouldn't surprise me that they put a few more resources into this because Katie Wilson, as we covered a few weeks ago, she had personally visited this particular encampment after activists got all upset when they learned it was going to be swept. And so she shows up, she says, okay, hold on. We're not going to sweep this just yet. We're going to have more conversations with the people there. And they connected some with resources, but most people just said no. And then, 2 days ago or 3 days ago, she put out a statement saying, okay, it's time to clear this because it's become a health emergency, which it was several weeks ago and has been for the last 2 years. But, obviously more attention is being paid. And so she goes out there and speaks to Cairo 7.
So it's not just, putting tiny houses in place, right? You actually need the support on site, the behavioral health services, the drug treatment, right? Case management, and that is ongoing expenses.
Now, if the strategy here, as they are describing it, as kind of this compassionate service-first model, I'm okay with that if there comes a time in the near future that you also add the enforcement element. You cannot pair outreach without enforcement. You have to pair the two. You can't just go at it alone. And this, while it took a little while, I'm willing to give Katie Wilson a little bit of leeway because she's brand new to the job. And I do think she's going to have to learn on the job. And while you don't want to see someone learning off of the backs of homeless people who are suffering out on the streets and are in desperate need of assistance, I'm also not going to pretend like the Seattle bureaucracy ever worked quickly. But if it's going to in the future, so long as they get to it quickly and not just let these encampments languish, if this is, we're going to offer you resources and then we're going to sweep if you don't take them, that's fine by me. You have to be consistent. You have to keep it up with every single encampment, not just one or two every so often. You have to do it all at the same time pretty much. If that's what she does, then I will say that that's a success. The problem, of course, is that, number one, I don't think this is going to be long-lasting. And number two, homelessness since she took over has gotten already really, really, really bad. The open-air drug use in particular is at the level we saw several years ago, at least in downtown Seattle. At least in Belltown and Pioneer Square. Capitol Hill's always kind of been a mess, but Ballard seems to be getting worse. Fremont, another neighborhood, seems to be getting worse. And all you have to do is talk to the people who are living at these encampments, and you find out rather quickly why they're so bad.
It's just a musical chairs thing, it's one person's problem, now it's another person's problem, and until these people complain enough, then they'll push this again, and it'll be someone else's problem. There's no running water, there's no power, no garbage, that's a safety warning to, I would think so, wouldn't you,
Yeah, I would. That's why I don't want you living there, dum-dum. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. The problem is, of course, he's pretending as if somehow he's a victim here. And he's a victim not just of the circumstances in this encampment, but he is somehow a victim because other people who live in the area want him to leave because he is illegally camping there and causing problems. The reality is, I guarantee you, especially this dude who told Cairo 7 that he's been living in that encampment for 2 months, if he truly had been living there for 2 months, he's been offered many times, not just over the last 2 months, but for however long this dude has been homeless. He has been offered shelter and resources multiple times, and he has made a choice either not to take him up on it or not to take it seriously enough. That's the reality. Because the people who live and work in this area have complained about their safety concerns, the deteriorating conditions, bunch of trash, blocked sidewalks. Crime is obviously up there. And it shouldn't have to take so long to clean this up. But like I said, if their intent is to offer services and then follow up quickly with sweeps, I'm all in. I'm all in. Are average Seattle voters all in, like Julianne?
We've built tiny house villages, and this area could really use one. I mean, is that enough space for one over there? I don't know. Maybe.
No, not. Well, why don't we put one in your backyard?
But at the very minimum, drop off porta potties, drop off trash service.
No. I'm not going to do that. Because all you're doing is encouraging people to encamp. I cannot stand people like this who don't understand or have any grasp of the situation. I was going to say scenario, but doesn't have a grasp of the homelessness crisis. And she is part of the problem. This is why we have an encampment like this. Why don't you just give them porta potties? Because I don't want them living outside, Julianne. That's why. That's why. I want them to live inside with access to running water, with access to plumbing, indoor plumbing. This marvel that we can now use to make life easier and safer and cleaner and less smelly. But just bring them trash cleanup. No, how about we bring them inside and they can throw away their own trash? That's the whole goal here. But we get the compassion, quote unquote, strategy because of people like Julianne who don't understand how to attack this issue. And we know what works because it works everywhere where they test it. It's not perfect, but it works. It works. You're going to get a good portion of people indoors once you start putting pressure on them to go indoors. And, of course, she mentions the tiny home village, which is, we brought you this story a couple weeks ago. We've got an update now that in West Seattle, there's a combined RV safe lot and tiny house village that's being considered. They got one step closer with a proposal that would create this managed site where people who live in broken down RVs could legally park there, access services, which they won't access, right next to a cluster of tiny homes for the people who want to truly transition out of, traditional homelessness where you're living in a tent or in a cardboard box. And this is something that's consistent with the mayor's broader vision of fewer unmanaged homeless encampments and more sanctioned sites that have oversight. The problem, of course, is that there's never really any meaningful oversight because Lehigh is in charge, the Low Income Housing Institute, which pretends that it has implemented all sorts of really great rules that keep the peace and get people off the streets, but they don't actually work. Here's their executive director, who's been in charge, Sharon Lee, for a very long time, at least over a decade, with a larger budget coming from the city, and yet homelessness has gotten worse.
What we have on site is not just the tiny houses, but we also have a kitchen, hygiene facilities.
And she's talking to Coma here, I've been to some of these sites before, not an RV site, but I've been to her tiny home villages. Yeah, they have a little kitchen and they've got some bathrooms. That part's true. They also have a bunch of stolen items all over the place, stolen bikes, and clear drug addicted or alcoholic homeless people.
Running water, resources, case management. It's a community that we're offering. We're actually seeing a very high success rate of people giving up their RVs. We don't want them recycling their RVs or selling it to somebody else. We want them to get rid of it. And we want to move so quickly that we can move RVs in before the World Cup.
Yeah, okay. Spare me. She's using the World Cup thing here, not because she cares about the World Cup experience of fans or visitors, right? She's doing that because she realizes that's a leverage point to get more money from the city to do the work. Now, I don't think she thinks she's doing anything wrong here. I don't think she sees what she's doing as a failure and she's just grifting for dollars. I'm presuming, I've met her a few times. I've spoken to her. I've interviewed her a few times years and years and years ago. She seems like she's well-intentioned, but well-intentioned or not, you're not doing anything that's working and people are still suffering. That's it. You still have a large challenge in Seattle. And even in a case like this, let's say you get a bunch of people to move off the streets and they truly stay off the streets outside of just their little now sanctioned encampment. And let's even pretend that there's no crime that comes with it. So we really have to put on our creative caps here. you still have the underlying problem of drug addiction, which this is not treating. Oh, but they'll get access if they want to. Yeah, I don't need them to have access if they want to drug treatment, to detox. They need to actually take it. They need to actually take it. Because it is not a success to get them into a tiny home or to an RV lot if they're throwing their lives away as drug addicts who are not contributing anything to society except a bill that we need to pay. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending in King County?
A lot of news in Seattle and King County about the Democratic efforts to yet again impede federal law enforcement around immigration and to promote criminal illegal immigrants, conflating a criminal illegal immigrant, someone who's not just merely in this country and working, otherwise trying to contribute to society in good faith, but the rapist or the drug dealer or the murderer. There is no distinction for folks on the left of those two groups. And King County just told us yet again where they stand. They're all about, without having to say it out loud, without having to admit it directly, they're all about protecting illegal immigrants from federal law enforcement. And now they've given it a significant or more significant budget. They approved $2 million in new funding to support illegal immigrants, criminal illegal immigrants included, while formalizing their ban on ICE from getting onto county property for civil immigration enforcement. And let's just break that down. $2 million, taxpayer dollars, for rental assistance, food support, legal aid. And it's specifically directed towards immigrant communities. And yet at the same time, the county is drawing a bright red line against federal immigration officers setting foot on county facilities just to do their jobs in these targeted acts. And remember, you know what county property includes? County jails. So they're choosing not to turn people over who are criminal illegal immigrants. They've committed crimes in addition to being here illegally. And of course, on the left, they frame this as they frame everything. Oh, we're just showing compassion. We're compassionate. These are human beings. No human is illegal. We're protecting vulnerable families. We're standing up to overreach by the Trump administration. But the part they don't want to talk about is when you block ICE from county property, you're not just shielding law-abiding immigrants. You just want us to think you are. You're shielding people who are in this country illegally and have committed additional crimes that are serious, that impact life in your county. ICE isn't randomly raiding parks for fun. Have you heard of any of that happening here? Because it feels like if it did, we'd certainly get a lot of news coverage. But that's not what they're doing. They execute warrants. They pursue people who are already subject to removal under federal law. But Gurmai Zahalai, the King County executive, oh, you see, he gets it. He's compassionate.
Federal immigration enforcement on its face feels like a national issue that's far away and outside the scope of King County. We're here today because it's not far away.
Oh, okay.
This is as hyper-local as it gets.
It's as hyper-local as it gets. And all of our illegal immigrant rapists and drug dealers and murderers and bank robbers, they are living in fear.
We've all seen the terror that communities are experiencing at the hands of ICE, the kidnappings, the raids, the family separations, the unjustified killings.
I mean, this guy is such a phony. And my God, he didn't even rush to do this. He took his sweet little time before using the same talking points that have been written for other Democrat politicians around the country to use. When local governments refuse to cooperate or actively block access to property, all they're doing is making it harder to detain people who have already violated immigration law and criminal law. That's all it does. And what he's essentially saying here is that if you're in this country or really in this county illegally, we're going to use our buildings, our policies, your tax dollars to make it harder for federal authorities to reach you and to arrest you. And they're doing it while claiming this has nothing to do with public safety. In fact, the only thing they claim this is tied to public safety for is because of how evil and dangerous ICE is. Here's Councilmember Teresa Mosqueda.
We are seeing lawlessness and chaos being invoked by federal law enforcement agents.
It's the same talking point over. Why do they even... You know, God bless you, Como. Why include clips that don't add anything to the conversation in your report, but the same talking point that they're using over and over and over again? It's just so disgusting. And, of course, this is not just happening at the King County level in Seattle. Maritza Rivera, Seattle City Council member, she spoke with Fox 13. She just introduced a new bill. It would be treated as an emergency ordinance, I think. We've got it written up at seattlered.com. It's Council Bill 121158. And it would amend our municipal code to stop city employees from sharing non-public information for use in civil immigration enforcement without a judicial warrant. It's completely unnecessary. There's no reason for this to happen. This isn't even being done right now. She's trying to block something that's not even happening.
Our Seattle Municipal Code needs to be updated.
It needs to be updated. I don't know why I speak in such a weird, affected tone, but that is my voice, and so you should stop mocking me.
To reflect the Keep Washington Working law. So it's really a matter of updating our laws to conform with the state law.
SPD has already said that their officers are not going to ask about immigration status at any point. So how is this going to change the department and how officers conduct their everyday investigations out on the streets?
I can't speak for Seattle Police Department. I can say that, again, the law codifies what state law is, so they're following state law. And then the only new thing that's in here actually is something that the state law is silent on, and that is the piece about all city employees, not just law enforcement employees, not sharing the personal information as well.
Everyone is getting involved in this way, and this would prevent it. This is all political. It really is. And it all falls sort of neatly along that ideological line of progressives. It's Girmay, it's Maritza, it's Katie Wilson, it's all of these people. They see immigration enforcement primarily through the activist lens rather than a legal lens, which is the way you're supposed to see it. And, you know, I have no problem debating federal immigration policy. I don't even care if you want to argue for reform. I'll probably disagree with the reform you're asking for, but I do think that you can advocate for different priorities and do so in a good faith way. I have no problem with that. But when local government intentionally creates these barriers to federal law enforcement while spending our tax dollars to do it, to cushion the impact of illegal presence, that's not neutrality. That is interference, and it's completely political. King County voters, Seattle voters, we should get an honest framing of what all of this is. This is not humanitarian aid. It's deliberate choices to make immigration enforcement more difficult. It is a declaration that county and city leadership believes federal law in this area is optional. And if you're wondering why critics say this protects criminals, it's what I just said, because it literally protects criminals. Because when you build policy around blocking enforcement rather than improving it, no, you're not protecting the innocent. You're protecting anyone who benefits from the shield. And that can include and does include rapists and murderers, bank robbers, drug dealers, drunks who drive, thieves who break into homes, who break into cars, who break into businesses. That's who gets protected here. And it's pathetic that they can't at least admit that. It really is. And right now we're wondering whether or not we're going to see another government shutdown, at least partial, specifically to DHS. Democrats put together their asks, their demands, in order to fully fund DHS in 2029. Not right now. This has no impact whatsoever on ICE. The only impact this has is on TSA. It has an impact on FEMA, like things that aren't controversial at all, or usually not. This has nothing to do with ICE funding right now. ICE is fully funded because of the One Big Beautiful Bill, and that's not going anywhere. But they made all of these demands. And Republicans met most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. But then the Democrats said, oh, never mind. We didn't expect that you were going to agree to anything, so we're going to stop negotiating again. And it's something that Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma is calling out. He spoke with Fox Business.
So the funding deadline is this Friday. That was a Democrat demand. They didn't want to fund TSA. They didn't want to fund Secret Service. They don't want to fund FEMA. They don't want to fund any of those if they can also cut off funding to ICE.
That's really what this is about. And they're not going to. Lance Gooden, congressman from Texas, calls out that this is a stunt?
First of all, the ICE agency is not at risk. The big, beautiful bill that we passed last July fully funds and some the ICE operations that Democrats are so angry about. So what they've done is put at risk the TSA funding. No one wants to go to the airport and have to wait hours to get on a plane. They put at risk the air traffic controllers that are showing up to work, but especially TSA. And you know what, I want to mention TSA because when we get to the airport, we see signs that say verbal abuse will not be tolerated. And so you go to the airport and everyone is on their best behavior. Why doesn't that standard apply to ICE agents who are enforcing the law, sometimes in a dangerous position on the streets? But what you'll see if the DHS agency fails to get funded this week are long lines at the airport and no change to enforcement.
Thank God I don't have to take a flight for at least a couple more weeks. I'm not back in New York until March. I think I leave March 4th, my birthday. Because this is going to be another one of those long-lasting stunts. ICE is already fully funded. Democrats know this. They just don't think the average person knows this. So they think they're going to get points for standing up against ICE. But my God, they are misreading the room. Let me tell you. I don't think they have a grasp on any of this as a matter of politics at this point. It seems pretty obvious they don't. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. 1-800-465-8770. When we come back, Tiffany Smiley helps preview the midterms. But is it too soon to get a sense of what's going to happen? Not quite, at least not if you trust history. We'll explain when we come back on the Jason Rantz Show.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz here with Phil Mitchell from the Sunset Auto family. Let's talk about No Stress Sundays, because there are a lot of folks who just feel off-put by the idea of going to any place to purchase a car, and then all of a sudden you've got salespeople. Even if they're not breathing down your neck, the feeling that they might be just turns people off.
Well, No Stress Sundays is really how it should be every day at a car dealership.
So why is Sunday different for you?
Sunday's important because families are out running around. They don't want to waste their time. They don't want to be hassled by a salesman. And no offense, my staff likes to have some Sundays off too with their families. So we created this environment where there's really less salespeople, less finance people, and you just get to mosey around. And if you need some help, you raise your hand and we take good care of you. And that's how it works.
But to be clear, on Sunday, I can still get a car, right?
If you decide you want to go through with a purchase, we'll make sure we can facilitate that for you. We just aim to make you happy.
And you do just that. Sunset Auto Family has been making people happy with warranty protection for life, oil changes for life, and now No Stress Sundays. Head into any location when you're ready for your next vehicle. Sunset Auto Family. You just get more at Sunset, and people do like that.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates demonstrates honesty and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
Spring is right around the corner, but the perfect time to start your outdoor project is right now. Natural Design Landscaping has been serving Seattle and the East Side for nearly 30 years. They design, build, and maintain stunning outdoor spaces, from full makeovers to weekly maintenance. Beat the spring rush and get your yard project started today. Mention Seattle Red and get 10% off your first service. Visit naturaldesignlandscape.com to schedule your consultation. Natural Design Landscaping, let's build something wonderful together.
The Jason Rantz Show.
All right, let's break it down with Seattle radio host and author Jason Rantz.
Jason, if I didn't know you, my first question would be, do you make these stories up?
No, they accepted this proposal. I guess it's a measure of how much they really don't like Trump, isn't it?
Long form.
As we told you earlier on in the show, a much better than expected inflation report came out today. It sparked a significant market response. Lots of folks are reinforcing their optimism. We're seeing price pressures ease. And it's undoubtedly going to come with some political considerations, some political implications. Joining me on the line to discuss is our friend, Tiffany Smiley. Welcome back to the show.
Hello, good to be on.
So, inflation report earlier this morning, obviously really good. We saw some significant ease in the pressures of just everyday costs of items. We've seen gas prices going down for a long time. What impact can this continued good economic news have on the midterms?
Yeah, well, I'll say the Republicans need this. To back up just a little bit, Jason, President Trump has been, touting for the last year the work that he is doing and encouraging Americans to hang on, right? I think what a lot of people don't realize is we were on the brink of economic failure under Joe Biden's policies, and really, truly under the once we got into COVID, all of the spending. Inflation went through the roof, certainly the largest inflation we've seen in my lifetime. I always say it was the Build Back broke, and, the Democrats just took it to a whole nother level. We lost jobs. Inflation was through the roof. Real wages decreased under Biden. So there were massive issues with our economy. And not just that, but national security implications and multiple wars. So President Trump had to come in and take drastic measures. He had to take a multi-pronged approach. And he has been saying, listen, I'm doing everything I need to do to make this work for the American people. And it is a bit of a sigh of relief, like, okay, now we're finally feeling it, right? It's going to take a little bit of time for the policies that President Trump has been implementing and the leadership that he has shown for those real effects to start to really hit the pocketbooks of Americans. And look, we have the permanent tax cuts, which are huge. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, increased child credit. So Americans are going to start feeling this in the next several months or the next couple months. And it is crucial. The midterms are going to be very difficult. I think it's only 4 times in the last 150 years that a sitting president, who has both the House and the Senate actually wins in the midterms. But, wilder things have happened. President Trump has certainly shown that he is a force and he is outside of the normal political sphere. So as long as Republicans stick to the messaging and continue to fight and work on this keyword affordability, and continue to somehow dominate the airwaves and make sure that, the Democrats want chaos and destruction and ICE is bad and all, just total destruction for our communities to dominate the airwaves.
Yeah,
but if they can cut through, and these candidates that are running can cut through on this affordability, and Americans start feeling it in our pocket, I think we could see a good midterm.
Well, they're obviously also the administration. They're banking on the refund checks. Some of this is also going to be tied, obviously, to the tariff decision by Supreme Court. But are you seeing any reason to think it won't be a dramatic shift to the left in the midterms? Again, history suggests where this is headed, but how bad or how mild could it be?
Yeah. I'm watching races. I'm supporting certain candidates in races. I think it will be interesting to watch. A little bit bigger picture, there's something that's going on in our country right now with mass migration out of these trifecta states. And I don't think enough people are talking about it. I'm fascinated by it. My friend David Urban put out the stats on it, and I retweeted it last week. But it's going to be interesting to watch, Jason, because whatever happens in these midterms, I think Republicans are sort of getting set up. If we can deliver on the economy and continue to deliver for the American people, they're kind of in a position where it could be Republican dominance for many, many years. So what's happening in these trifecta states, like Washington State, where the Democrats own the governorship, they own both the houses and the legislature, and then they have 2 Democrat senators, is people are leaving, like massively leaving, which after the 2020 or after the 2030 population census, the Democrats could lose up to 10 congressional seats. I mean, that's coming down the pipe. So I'm kind of in this optimistic place. Like, I think Republicans, the more, Trump delivers on his agenda and his vision for hope for our country, for our kids, that my kids will have a better future than what I had in this country. As long as we start to feel that optimism, start to see more money in our pockets, I think the midterms, who knows what could happen. But I'm also incredibly encouraged by this bigger view that we are not going to have to live under this Democrat, they're quite socialist now, policies that have, honestly, we're back to the beginning, we're kind of taking us off the brink and ruining our American dream.
It is, and although I will point out, because you mentioned the possibility of losing some seats on the left. I mean, Virginia just gave the thumbs up of that map that would erase basically any kind of advantage that Republicans would have there, and it just took one step forward in the right direction. Now, ultimately, the Virginia Supreme Court could step in at any point, I suppose, but just assuming that doesn't happen, was what happened in Texas that started this gerrymandering war, even though I don't think it actually started in Texas. It started in Wisconsin. But obviously the perception has been that it's been going on forever. It's never really been that big of an issue. But obviously they turned it into an issue based out of Texas. Was that a mistake?
A mistake on the Republican side?
Yep.
I don't think so. I think Republicans need to learn how to fight fire with fire. I will say that, because Democrats have been doing this for years. You look at California.
Illinois, Wisconsin. The list goes on.
Figure out how to counter. Yeah, exactly. But again, I think there is something bigger at play. I think there are more people moving into Texas, and they're not far left socialist Democrats. So so as long as the Democrats continue to elect, you look at these special elections that are going on, or even there's now a Democrat socialist who is running for mayor of California against Karen Bass. It's sort of that's who's kind of running their party right now. So I think that'll be interesting to watch. It's selling. It's sold in New York with Mamdani. It's selling in New Jersey with the new congressional seat. So the more the Democrats go that way, the more you're going to see people who maybe they're not Republican, maybe they're independent, but they're fiscally conservative, fleeing these states and really setting up a different type of map for our country.
Do you get the impression here in Washington that Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez is truly in trouble? She is a constant target of the Republicans who believe that because Simply Joe Kent lost 2 cycles, he maybe was seen as a weaker candidate, but this is more of a red district. She's obviously a Democrat who's at least giving off the impression that she's more of a moderate when she isn't really a moderate.
Right. No, she's not, but I think she's done a pretty good job of staying under the radar and playing the game. I know that I think she's kind of entrenched now or established. My worry is the money. And I think that's what we have to watch, Jason, is how much, the Dems know they can keep that seat if they have enough money. So I think she's already loaded up. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see if the Republicans can raise enough to show like, hey, this is a seat we can take back, or did we lose it?
Well, do you see her as potentially vulnerable in that particular district? I mean, you've run in Washington State for Senate, obviously, so you're familiar with Vancouver, which is pretty blue, but battleground and Washougal, it is more red.
It is, but it's unique too, if that makes sense. When you look at the issues and why people, maybe why independents and moderates do like her, versus a Republican, or what type of Republican are they going to go for? Who can cut through? And again, I mean, I hate to say it, but politics is a money game. And she's locked and loaded, and they will be able to push a moderate message out to voters at the right time, at the right place. And if, as Republicans in this state, if we can't counter that or be above that, then I think it will be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I wish we didn't lose that seat, but it's a unique district. And I think time will have to just tell as we start to really look at that race and see what the movements are. But she's done a good job of staying under the radar and establishing herself, sort of digging in that district and appealing to moderates and appealing to independents.
Yeah, although I will say there were a lot of progressives who are now really upset the Washington Democrats endorsed her progressive challenger. To your point, it's whether or not the more moderate voters will be able to overcome it. Exactly. So, it is interesting. And obviously, she's got a lot of money coming in, but it's coming in from outside of not only her district, but outside of Washington State. Last week, she was in New York for an event to raise some money. So, they're clearly circling around her and trying to get her some money, but I don't know what her level of support is. We've been talking with the founder of the Endeavor PAC, former Senate candidate here in Washington State, Republican Tiffany Smiley. As always, thank you so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you, Jason.
Of course. You're listening to the Jason Rantz Show. The Sunset Auto family, loyal supporters of Seattle Red, I want you to know that every qualifying new and used vehicle comes with oil changes for life. That's going to save you thousands of dollars over the lifetime of your vehicle. You get up to 5 a year. So when you're ready for your next car or truck, be sure to visit our friends at the Sunset Auto Family in Auburn and Sumner. Online at sunsetautofamily.com. When we come back, scurvy might be back because people are trying to lose weight. We'll explain the connection when we return with some quick hits right here on the Jason Rantz Show.
Mitch here at Leathers, Washington's most eclectic home furnishings resource. There's too much stress in America today. I cannot solve this national affliction, and I cannot run for president as I'm only 74. What I can do is offer you stress-free chairs at our lowest prices of the season. Fjord's factory-authorized sale is going on now. Save hundreds to thousands of dollars on these tailored stress relievers in gorgeous colors that swivel, glide, recline, or even lift. So lessen your stress. Treat yourself to a Fjord's recliner at Leathers Fjord sale in Issaquah now.
For almost 50 years, over 90,000 homeowners have trusted Home Comfort Alliance, including me. John Curley here. If comfort and energy savings matter to you, now you can save up to $2,000 on new heating and cooling systems. Home Comfort Alliance will replace your old system with one tailored to your home's layout while optimizing efficiency. Visit homecomfortalliance.com. Save up to $2,000 and schedule a free consultation. For heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical, call the Comfort People. Home Comfort Alliance.
At the UPS Store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable.
Not sure how to tackle your taxes? Are you sweating the small print? You may be experiencing FOMO, the fear of messing up. The answer? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. It's time to take your taxes to the max. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes around the Sound for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. And with my luxurious marketing, you'll attract tons of buyers, sell fast at top dollar, and net more money. Because Upgrade Realty will save you thousands in fees for only 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Do you like helping others? Become a Shiva volunteer. In Clark County, join the hundreds of volunteers across Washington state who help over 90,000 people each year with their Medicare options and questions. You don't have to know Medicare. We'll teach you. And if you're bilingual, even better. For more information and how to apply, call Shiva at 1-800-562-6900 or go to insurance.wa.gov.
Sponsored by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner and aired by the Washington State Association of Broadcasters and this station.
The Jason Rantz Show.
Bring in Jason Rantz, Seattle Red 770 AM host, and also SeattleRed.com. Jason, great to have you with us.
Jason, Seattle is just continually ground zero.
Yeah, and this is really the Pacific Northwest is ground zero for all this nonsense.
USA Today is mocking the far left.
The quick hit.
So there's a new report raising questions about what we'll just call a surprising potential side effect with some of the GLP-1 medications, and it's called the pirate disease, scurvy. Apparently, researchers are saying, this is according to Fox News, they say that researchers are warning that GLP-1 medications, these are the shots that can help you lose a ton of weight, Ozempic, Wegovy, all the other, the one that I always forget the name of, Zepbound, might be linked to rare cases of scurvy, the disease historically associated with pirates or 18th century sailors. And it comes from a lack of vitamin C. Now, the report says there have been documented cases in which patients using GLP-1 receptor agonists, that's what we call these drugs, developed symptoms consistent with deficiency in vitamin C. And it's not entirely certain why this is happening, or at least to the extent that it's happening. But specifically, the way these drugs work is it slows your digestion down. The digestion of food is slowed. That has an impact on your appetite, meaning you're less hungry because the food's digestion is slower. And in the end, it all regulates your blood sugar levels. And you know, obviously this was pushed initially as a diabetes drug, but then they saw one of the benefits was dramatic weight loss that, you know, is astonishing to a lot of people, where you can lose a ton of weight in a relatively short amount of time. The concern is not that the drugs directly will cause scurvy. That's not what they're talking about. But they say it's actually possibly related, or it appears to be related to reduced food intake. So if you're eating less food, you're bringing in less nutrients, and that could include vitamin C. Key sources of vitamin C aren't getting consumed because you're on these GLP-1 drugs. And, unintentionally, perhaps you're eating fewer fruits or vegetables, which are the key sources of vitamin C. And that is causing some of these issues. And in the documented cases in this article, they say they've got symptoms such as fatigue, joint pain, gum issues, easy bruising, and even skin changes. Blood tests, they said, confirmed in these cases that people have low vitamin C levels. Now, the symptoms improve once you start, in this case, either consuming vitamin C from diet or just supplement with vitamin C. They say scurvy is obviously very rare. It doesn't happen all that often, if at all, in developed countries because we get enough vitamin C through our diet. But we don't produce vitamin C on our own to the degree that we need it. So it basically has to come from food. I don't think the body produces any vitamin C, actually, not even a little bit. I don't think they produce any. So we have to get it from food. And a lot of people get it from usually fruits, but leafy greens, peppers, just generally where it comes from. And I know because I don't eat fruit very infrequently will I eat fruit. And even some of the leafy greens I don't think are particularly healthy because of all the oxalates. So I supplement with vitamin C. I don't take a ton of vitamin C because I still do get it from my diet, but that's how I get it. And, this is one of those things where, you're not really thinking about anything like scurvy, and people certainly aren't thinking about vitamin C, and they rush to jump onto these drugs. They see all of the results, and they're not really thinking about an important piece of when you're not eating all that much, the supplementation part. And, I've talked about my probably unhealthy obsession with the supplementation stuff, but I take a ton of supplements because I'm not getting everything from food, and that's naturally because I'm not eating the same bulk as I used to, and I'm not eating I'm very intentional about what I'm eating, and there's some things that I get my nutrients from that I wasn't previously getting that's now a benefit. So I eat grass-fed meats. I eat a lot of fish now. Sardines is one of, I'm getting a lot of that stuff, but I do have to worry about some of the nutrients that I'm not necessarily getting from a diet anymore because I'm not eating as much crap that in many cases they just flood with vitamin C and other nutrients as well. They say everyone, relax a little bit in that, this makes a pretty good story and a headline, but still scurvy incidences are really rare. And there's still way more benefits to GLP-1 drugs for weight loss and diabetes than are the side effects or the detriments to it. You just have to manage this the way that you would manage anything else. You just got to be a little bit more thoughtful. And presumably, if you're on GLP-1s, and the chances are someone listening right now, 1 in 4 people in this world are on, or in this country are taking GLP-1. So I'm willing to bet that translates to our audience as well. I'm presuming you're working with a doctor. I work with a functional health doctor. So she's aware of all of the lifestyle changes I've made in adopting a more longevity-based biohacking life. And she knows all the supplements I'm on. I get regular blood tests, usually every quarter, maybe every other quarter, where I'll take a look at all my blood work to see what I am in fact deficient in. And if I'm deficient in something, then I know what kind of supplementation I might need to take. And it's just, you got to do that even more so when you're talking about GLP-1s because, GLP-1 does have the impact of you just not wanting to eat. Now, I kind of joke about this, although I think there's probably a lot of truth to it. But one of the significant side effects of GLP-1 is really bad nausea, like wanting to puke all the time. And I don't know how long it will truly last, but from the people I've talked to, and I've done some of my own research on it, there are a lot of people who just feel really, really nauseous all the time, like a morning sickness that sticks with you throughout the day, and it lasts 3 days out of the week. It's certainly to start because your body isn't used to the GLP-1, even at its lowest dose. So that means you're going to eat less. It even means you're going to probably drink less than you otherwise would. And so any kind of place that, maybe you normally might drink a vitamin water or zero sugar that still has vitamin C in it, I'm pretty sure, you're not going to get it there anymore. So this is not just even an issue with vitamin C. It's an issue with nutrients across the board. The biggest thing for anyone, and I know this personally as someone who wasn't eating nearly enough protein as I should, and again, talk to your doctor, I guess, but it's anywhere from 1 to 1.6 grams of protein per pound of your ideal body weight. I wasn't getting anywhere close to that. And the second that I started to pay attention and was more thoughtful about my protein, including supplementation, and that includes the amino acid profile that helps create the proteins, or it means like whey protein. Once I started to dial that in, I saw much faster results and I just felt better. So they're saying it's not even just about the scurvy, relax about the scurvy, just be a little bit more aware of what it is that you're consuming or not consuming when you're on these kinds of drugs. This is not a report that's intended to alarm you, but just to raise awareness. And when you change your eating patterns dramatically, you just have to pay closer attention to what you're doing differently, not just, how many pounds you're losing on a scale. And that's kind of the broader issue with this story, or in this story, is they're saying there's a big piece that many people miss, whether or not they're on GLP-1s, but just simply trying to lose weight, is dietary counseling. And doctors are not particularly good when it comes to nutrition. They're just not getting that level of training. Some do, but most don't get that level of training, especially if the only training they received was from medical school, which I think is only 20 hours of nutrition courses or nutritional training. And you might get some basic, like, hey, make sure you work on your protein intake or your hydration, or just be balanced. But if you're not tracking what it is you're eating, or you're just not eating very much at all, simply saying more protein, drink more electrolyte infused water, that doesn't really mean anything. So they say that, at least the research suggests, that monitoring your vitamins or just general nutrients might be worth considering in certain cases. So obviously talk to your doctors. But I found this really fascinating, because this is something, even though I'm not on GLP-1, the underlying issue of supplementation and constantly monitoring and looking over the blood work, like the second I got that dialed in, everything else started to fall into place, and I felt really good. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. 1-800-465-8770. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show on SeattleRed.com.
Finally, conservatives in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest have a home dedicated to local news.
Seattle, Portland.
Conservative analysis and opinion.
Minimum wage restrictions, they're hit hard.
A new experience for Seattle's conservative movement. Tell your conservative friends about it. The all-new SeattleRed.com.
Those of you interested in building your very own shop, horse arena, or farm equipment storage, Pac West Arenas will provide your engineering and a kit if needed. A kit includes step-by-step instructions, unlimited communication, and a one-time 4-hour site visit from an expert. If you also need engineering, Pac West Arenas will guarantee it in 10 business days. Consult an engineering and kit expert. Pac West Arenas, your one-stop shop for all your pole building needs. Go to PacWestArenas.com.
Hey, it's Guy Benson. I've been telling you about this journey I'm on with the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. And, I just kind of was looking at myself in the mirror, especially after the holidays, had gained a little bit of weight and just felt lethargic. I'm like, I can do better. This is not how I want to be. And I'm about halfway through the program, and I'm here to tell you I am getting results. I am seeing myself in the mirror, a thinner version of myself. Clothes are fitting better. My energy is great. My sleep is great. Adam and I are doing it together. Combined, we are down 40 pounds. This is outperforming even our own expectations. If you've been thinking about it or kind of feeling that same way about yourself, this is the time. Schedule a 15-minute call. It's all it takes to preview the program and see if it will work for you. And right now, exclusively Guy Benson Show listeners get $200 off the program. It's EastsideWeightLossClinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Homeowners, stop what you're doing right now and listen up, because Puget Sound Energy has new rebates that have never been this high. If insufficient insulation or no insulation at all in your crawl space or attic are impacting your energy bills, now's the time to get your free inspection from Northwest Crawl Space Services, because these PSC rebates could pay for up to 95% of your project. And that could mean thousands of dollars in savings on your job. But make sure you hire a crawl space company that's PSC certified, because not every company can offer these rebates. Don't miss out. Call today. And the team from Northwest Crawl Space Services are happy to give you a free energy savings consultation. Northwest Crawl Space Services will get rid of the critters, re-insulate your home, and hook you up with big-time savings and PSC rebates. Remember, these guys can solve any crawl space or attic problem, no exceptions. See if you qualify for savings from PSC. Go to nwcrawlspace.com.
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
Combing through evidence. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Pima County Sheriff answering questions in a Fox News interview about the progress in the Nancy Guthrie abduction case.
Fox's Jonathan Hunt asking Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos.
You think you'll find Nancy Guthrie alive?
Absolutely, yes. I have nothing but hope. You can't do this job without having that kind of hope.
The sheriff explaining there was not a glove found inside the Guthrie home, but one found about 2 miles away is being tested, as well as DNA found inside the home.
We found DNA. And
that was not Nancy Guthrie's DNA?
That was not Nancy Guthrie's DNA. So we'll still work with that, and we're working with our lab on that.
Again, pushing back on claims he was reluctant to use an FBI lab or involve the agency, saying we all want Nancy home.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for 13 days. Journalist Don Lemon has pled not guilty to civil rights charges in connection with the January 18th anti-ICE protest in St. Paul Church, where an ICE official is a pastor. He spoke with reporters after his court appearance.
People are finally realizing what this administration is all about. The process is the punishment with them.
4 others also pled not guilty. The federal government says the protest violated the worshipers' freedom of religion, while Lemon, who's now an independent journalist, says he's fighting to defend his First Amendment rights. The Department of Homeland Security said to run out of money at midnight after lawmakers failed to reach a deal to reform ICE.
Donald Trump and Republicans have decided that they have zero interest in getting ICE under control.
House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffrey, Senate Majority Leader John Thune said this week the package did include reforms, including having ICE agents wear body cameras. America's listening to Fox News.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The major averages losing steam in the final hour of trading and ending mixed. All 3 of the benchmarks were down for the week, with the NASDAQ down the most and suffering its 5th week of losses. New data show that inflation slowed a bit more than expected last month. The consumer price index rising just 0.2% for January and 2.5% on an annual basis. Both numbers showed improvement and were below economists' forecasts. Core CPI, excluding food and energy categories, rising 0.3% for the month and up 2.5% annually. The Dow up 49 points, the Nasdaq lower by 50, S&P 500 up 3. Shares of Applied Materials rose 8% after the semiconductor equipment maker beat analysts' estimates for its first quarter earnings and revenue. The company also issued a better than expected forecast for the current quarter. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
I'm alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. I've won the most World Cup ski races in history. But what does success mean to me? Success means discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us, and it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. If you're looking for success, surround yourself with the people who will get you there. If you're an advisor or investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making.
Coach! The yellow light! God, I'm walking here! I'm walking!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM, recording here in New York as I am in town for CNN, which means I get to yell at liberals tonight. We got a lot planned this hour of the show. We'll get into SCOTUS, Supreme Court, finally coming to the rescue when it comes to trans athlete bans. One law in Idaho being discussed today, but this is really about what's going to happen nationwide. But before then, we are day 2 of the legislative session in Washington state. And of course, Democrats are up to their shenanigans. That's what's trending. Brought to you by Legacy Group Capital, Common Sense Lending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
Washington Democrats are advancing a bill that local media is going to take the bait on. And I really, really hope that they don't, although I fear that they will. This is a bill that would limit when law enforcement can cover their faces while they're on the job. And the intent behind this bill, as the state senator Javier Valdez, the Democrat from Seattle, pointed out, was drafted because of the ICE enforcement that he and other Democrats are completely against.
Seeing law enforcement officers throughout the country bringing intimidation tactics and causing fear in neighborhoods, in our families, and our communities.
It's intimidation tactic. I mean, I'm intimidated. I know Jackson earlier today, when he got into the office, he sent me a text. He was a little bit late, and you were just in tears, it sounded like. Just like, I can't. I'm just so intimidated by the idea of law enforcement because they're coming. First, they go after the immigrants, and then they come after us, which, of course, is not going to happen. The problem, of course, with this bill is that it is, can we call this, Jackson, a kind of a fake bill? Like, it's a real bill, but it does absolutely nothing when it comes to federal law enforcement. Do we all understand why? I know not everyone has taken a Constitutional 101 course, but you know the basic concept here, right?
It's a virtue signal bill, yeah.
It's a virtue, but why is this useless from a federal standpoint?
The supremacy clause.
Okay, supremacy clause. And it's kind of in the name of the clause, supremacy. What does that mean? Who's supreme?
The federal law supersedes state law.
100% of the time. That's always going to be the case. And so they're pushing this as if it's going to do anything. And I saw some, memes on Reddit being posted by left-wingers, like, unmask ICE. This does not unmask anything. This doesn't unmask anything. In fact, all you have to do is go to California, which passed the exact same law, but it's gone absolutely nowhere because the locals have zero impact whatsoever on whether or not you're going to be able to force federal law enforcement from taking off their masks. This is a made-up issue. It is a made-up issue. And media is going to push this as if it has any chance in the world of not just it's going to pass, but actually being implemented. It's not going to be implemented. But what will happen is after they pass this bill and they see an ICE agent in a mask, they're going to say this is another example of the Trump administration violating the law. This is a lawless Gestapo or a lawless gazpacho. That's how they'll present it. And they'll use it again as a means to attack the Trump administration and smear federal law enforcement agencies, even though they know that this is very clearly unconstitutional. U.S. Attorney Pete Serrano, he made that point earlier to our sister station. But, I mean, the reality is you don't need to even go to a Republican U.S. attorney to know this. We know exactly what's going on here. But again, the media is going to play into this game. They're going to pretend otherwise. Now, at the same time, an issue that I think they ought to pay attention to, they're almost going to completely ignore and not amplify the messages on or point out that Democrats are acting clearly, again, unconstitutionally. We told you yesterday of the two initiatives that got enough signatures to be considered by the state legislature before they get onto the ballot in November. One having to do with bringing back parental Bill of Rights, which the Democrats gutted. The other one having to do specifically with banning trans athletes, which big Supreme Court case or two cases today were heard. We'll get into that in a second. But according to the state constitution, the legislature has to take them up and treat them with the highest of importance. But what did they say instead? Oh, we're just going to completely ignore it. We're not going to look at it. We're not going to debate it. We're not going to vote on it. We're going to ignore what the Washington State Supreme Court says, and we're just going to put it on the ballot. Now, yesterday, as I pointed out, the reason why they're going to do that is because it gives them 11 months, essentially, hoping that you forget about this issue, so no momentum, 11 months raising more money so that they can outspend the initiative supporters, and flat out lie to you about what's in it. And, of course, 11 months where they continue the status quo. Now, ultimately, at least for one of the initiatives, it might be moot. In fact, it will likely be moot in just a few months when we get the Supreme Court decision on trans athlete bans. But the reality is, this is all intentional, but it's unconstitutional, which is why the Citizen Action Defense Fund, the CADF, also known as KEDF, they're calling out the legislature and the Democrats for refusing to hold these hearings. And they're pointing out that nearly 500,000 Washingtonians signed the petitions. And they're not supposed to just ghost them. They're required to either pass them as they're written, reject them as they're written, or simply send them to the voters. That's it. That is the process that they're supposed to follow. And yet they are choosing to ignore that process because there are no consequences here other than maybe getting called out. But getting called out is not the same as meaningful consequences, legally speaking, or political consequences. And there won't be any political consequences. They do whatever it is they want. Voters followed the rules, but the legislature is refusing to do exactly the same thing. And it's not some technical oversight. It's not some scheduling conflict. They've openly said they have no intention of holding hearings, no votes, no debate, which would bring a giant spotlight to this. And again, debating this issue and having them go on the record on something that is so wildly popular, regardless of one's political position, they don't have a spotlight highlighting their debate against the will of the people. That's another big piece of this. The Constitution didn't change. The arrogance coming from the legislature changed. Jim Walsh has an op-ed today at Seattle Red on the arrogance coming from this administration and from this leadership. And so the Citizen Action Defense Fund over at seattlered.com, they're demanding some kind of accountability. But again, I don't think we're going to see anything. This is all just a giant scam. And it's on us, frankly, to speak up and push back and demand some change. 1-800-465-8770 for your texts. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? The sports ball.
Well, kudos to the Seattle Seahawks. They got their bye week. They're now in playoff territory officially, headed to Lumen Field. They're hosting the 49ers. Do we really need, Jackson, the same game that we ended the season with?
Just the way it shook it. This is how it shakes out.
But I don't know. This one doesn't seem all that interesting to me. Is it fair to say that the Seahawks are the favorite?
Yeah, I think in Vegas the spread is they're favored by 7.5 points, so a touchdown.
And I know what a touchdown is.
Well, maybe other people don't. I don't know.
Who doesn't know that? And first of all, it's not a touchdown technically, right? It's a touchdown and a field goal. Dummy.
A touchdown and an extra point. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just
plus
saying.
half a point.
And half a point. I always love it. How do they figure out the half point part? That I don't understand. How do you cover the spread when there's a half?
Well, that's the thing is it's if it was only 7, you'd be like, oh, I could see them winning by touchdown. Then worst case, I push. I get my money back if it's exactly 7. But then if it has to be more than a touchdown, that makes it harder.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in any case, they're playing the 49ers without Kittle, whose
Correct.
leg fell off or something.
Tore his ACL.
Yeah, same thing. So he's out, which he's always been a problem for the Seahawks. And I find, again, I'm totally a bandwagon fan. Although I watched almost every single game this season. I listened to one. I actually listened to the San Francisco 49ers game when the Seahawks won, cementing their bye week. But they're going into this, and I thought this was kind of interesting to me. I saw this all over the place, and people were sharing
an email that they got as a season ticket holder. They were warned not to resell their playoff tickets, and if they do, it could jeopardize whether or not they're going to be able in the next season to keep their eligibility for those season tickets. The warning, King 5 says, comes as playoff energy builds in Seattle after the heated rivalry match. The policy said, hey, we don't want this in place, or fans said of the policy, we don't want this in place, people selling their tickets, because it could impact how many 49ers fans are actually in the stadium. One season ticket holder named Jeff, speaking to King 5, says this is a good policy.
And then we have a firm policy in our group that nobody sells their tickets to, non-Seahawks fans. If they determine that your tickets were primarily used for resale, I think that's the tipping point. But no pun intended with Seahawks. But I'm glad they're finally ruffling some feathers. Yeah. I mean, you go there for a collective experience. And yeah, it's fun sparring with fans from other teams and things like that in a fun way. But it's way more fun high-fiving, a Seahawks fan when something fantastic happens. Take a step back and really look at the history of things. It's like we're living in wonderful times right now. And hopefully more wonderful after Saturday.
Oh, shut up. Fans are the worst. So here's what I don't understand about this. What if you can't go to the playoff game? You're out of town. And let's say I'm a Seahawks ticket holder. I couldn't sell them to you? You're a Seahawks fan.
Well, maybe you could do it under the table, maybe, and then they would have no way of knowing.
I guess, but
just give it
why
to
are
a
they
friend
just
and be like,
I get their point of going on to third-party tickets, but why are we just assuming it's going to be a 49ers fan who purchases the tickets? Wouldn't it be just as likely, if not more likely, since it's at Lumen Field, that someone who's a Seahawks fan would purchase?
I don't know. Third party, I feel like for example, in the first game of the season when the Niners were here, there was tons of Niner fans. So presumably that's how they got their tickets, was off third-party sites.
I'm not saying they're not going to get their ticket, but it seems like it's fair to say that there are more Seahawks fans who are likely to purchase a ticket to a playoff game in Seattle than a 49er fan who will purchase tickets and fly here.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, so that's what I guess I don't understand why we are just making this assumption. Couldn't you, and I don't know, Seahawks couldn't do this, but can't we just work with third-party vendors and be like, we're only selling to zip codes that originate in Washington State? It's just, what are you supposed to do if you don't, what if you're a lonely person who doesn't have any friends and you can't go? Wouldn't you rather have someone in those seats?
Maybe you would, but they don't want any Niners fans there.
No, it's not a guarantee, is my point, that it's just 49er fans. Are you going?
No, I'm not going.
Why? Because you can't find tickets on the third-party sites.
And it's very expensive.
So you're independently wealthy. I saw the ring you got your fiance. You can afford it.
I haven't been to a Seahawks game in years, actually. I go to more Husky football games than NFL games. But
can I say, because I've been to, the only times I've ever been to a Seahawks game is obviously when I'm in the suite, because our sister station is the home of the Seahawks. And even there, I don't like going to Seahawks games. It's too loud. It's one of the big perks for the Seahawks is having this stadium that was built to be very loud, and it's distracting for the opposing team. But I am hypersensitive to sounds. I have hyperacusis, and it's very difficult for me, not even just to pay attention. It physically hurts to be at Lumen Field. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Versus going to a Mariners game, and while it can obviously get loud, it's not sustained over the course of a 2-3 hour game.
Yeah, it's just
or a 7-hour game for baseball.
Pockets of loudness, but not the whole time.
Exactly. I can't do it. I much prefer, and just kind of like soccer, I prefer watching it on a TV than being there. Unless, ironically, if I'm at Lumen Field for a soccer game, I want the nosebleed seats, because you can see the entire pitch or field, and you can see how the game strategy is unfolding, versus it doesn't totally make a difference if you're there for a football game. Although I feel like still the higher up you are, the better.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Mm-hmm. And yet baseball, I don't think you need to be high up. I think you can have really, quote unquote, good seats. But I don't feel that way with Seattle, with football or soccer.
Mm-hmm. And I find myself becoming more and more of like an old curmudgeon because, like, as you say, baseball games, one thing I love about them is how it's so easy to like socialize with people and it's just kind of chill. But like if I'm at like a football game or like a Kraken game or something and on the Jumbotron, they're like, get loud. I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, it's like, no, can you quiet down? You've been loud this whole time. And can everyone sit down for a minute? My feet hurt. I don't like this anymore. And I'm not going to spend, not that I'd ever eat a hot dog, but $14 on a hot dog.
Uh-huh.
It's too much.
That's one of the most annoying things about Mariner playoff games, actually, is like I get why people do it, but like people during playoff baseball, people stand the entire time.
The whole game. It's like going to a concert with chairs and everyone's standing. Like, but we got seats. Why are we standing?
It's like we're not even batting, and it's like a 1-0 count in the third inning. Like, why are we getting on our feet?
Yeah, it's too much. I'm kind of with you. And especially, it feels like it's going to be worse for playoff games. Wouldn't you rather just watch it or listen to it than be there?
I think, especially nowadays with like, surround sound and 4K TV and you can just sit on your couch. I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, I'm definitely not spent. Well, it doesn't matter. There was at no point was I even considering going to the game. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? International.
We appear to be one step closer, potentially getting more involved, militarily involved in Iran. President Trump earlier today told the people of Iran to, quote unquote, take over the institutions. He's canceled all meetings with the Iranian regime over the crackdown on the protests. This announcement was on his Truth Social saying Iranian patriots keep protesting, take over your institutions, save the names of the killers and the abusers. They will pay a big price. And he says, I've canceled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stop. Help is on the way. Now, the question is, what does that help actually look like? Will it be more traditional military involvement? Probably not, although Senator John Fetterman, who, as I will remind everyone, appears to be the only sane voice on the left in the Senate, says he would support some kind of kinetic action in Iran. He was on CNN.
Do you want the U.S. to get involved like that?
Sure, absolutely. And now if it continues to make more sense, absolutely. I think I was the only Democrat that fully supported our strike of their Iranian nuclear facilities last year. And now, by then, without those kinds of strikes, Iran could have acquired a nuclear bomb. I hope we can all agree that Iran should have never acquired a nuclear bomb. And Iran is one of the world's top terrorist unwriter. And now you have that poisonous regime now in spiral. So why wouldn't we want to support that? And those brave protesters, they've killed probably more than 600 by now. So now, why would we want to have the kinds of targeted kinds of action that could break that regime?
It seems pretty obvious that we're not going to have boots on the ground. We might get involved with airstrikes to, strategic locations having to do with their military infrastructure. I bet, and not because I have any special intel, obviously, on this, but I'm hearing a lot of people talking about the prospect of cyber chaos that we can create by hacking their system, infiltrating their systems. And perhaps that's what we end up doing, that this is more of a digital warfare kind of bit to stop this regime from killing all of these innocent Iranians. To me, what's been really interesting about this is that, folks on the left who previously complained that the Trump administration hadn't done enough to deal with bad actors like Iran, and that we were leaning into this kind of isolationist position. And, in fairness, I think some people falsely portray America First as isolationist in general. America First is not isolationist. It means anything that we're doing is to the advantage of the American people. That does not mean that we never get involved in anything foreign. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's the dumbest of dumb, she seemed to think that, and that's in part how she broke up with the Trump administration. Specifically dealing with Israel, because she's an anti-Semite. But, I thought we said no to foreign foreign war. This is starting a foreign. This is not a foreign war. What we're seeing are revolutionaries, the people of Iran pushing back in a meaningful way. And if we can help them, isn't it in our best interest for a weakened Iranian regime, especially if it means they might become a more democratic region? Because it's not just about Iran. This would send shockwaves into the Middle East. You know, we've made this before on the show that the Iranian people are not the enemy. They are very much, for the most part, aligned with Western culture and Western ideals. Not completely, right? But they are considerably aligned, or more considerably aligned than, say, Palestinians in Gaza, right? They are very much over there, not a fan of Western culture. But the Iranian people and the American people have a lot in common and a lot of respect for one another. It's the Iranian regime which has used a tremendous amount of violence to subjugate the people. So it's in our best interest to have, a flourishing and non-threatening Iran in that region, which the threat that they offer is just destabilizing in that region. So whatever it is we're doing, you would expect, I think, Democrats would at least privately support what the Trump administration is talking about here. But of course, they can't talk about it publicly because everyone is broken by Trump. It was funny yesterday on, I think it was Air Force One, the president got a question from CNN about whether or not President Trump, threatening any kind of action in Iran would be taken seriously, which is frankly an odd question.
I think Iran takes your threats seriously.
I think so. Don't you think so, CNN? Don't you think so? Wouldn't you say that they probably do at this point? After going through it for years with me, being hit, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, the Iran nuclear threat wiped out, don't you think, and then you just had Venezuela, don't you think, she says, CNN, do you think they take your threat seriously? Wouldn't you say they do after all of the things we've done? What a stupid question.
Yeah, and I don't even understand. Do we know what the point of that question was? Did she mean it in a different way?
I have no idea.
Right? It seemed like, well, why would they take you seriously, rather than a more objective, will they take you seriously? At least that's how I read the tone. So I'm kind of with the president on that one of like, why are you asking such a dumb question? It doesn't really make any sense. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. Remember 2020 when everything was shut down, the world was locked down, you weren't driving anywhere, and because you didn't get regular maintenance, skipping the oil change might have wrecked your vehicle's warranty. So the Sunset Auto family is offering absolutely free warranty health checks. And if they find that your coverage is shaky, they can get you out of that car and into something better with warranty protection for life. SunsetAutoFamily.com. Sunset Auto Family in Auburn and Sumner. Just bring your vehicle down. When we come back, a monumental case is going to be decided on trans athletes in competition. It seems pretty clear where the justices are going. We'll have some of the analysis and great audio from today's hearing when we return on the Jason Rantz Show from the Fox News studios in New York.
This President's Day, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson and Lincoln by offering unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month. Meanwhile, Big Wireless is honoring Benjamin Franklin by charging families hundreds of dollars for the same 5G service. What's up with that? Ben Franklin wasn't even a president. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be in business with an American wireless company that supports our vets in a big way and keeps all their customer service in this country. That's important. And you'll be on the same towers the big carriers use, so you'll get the same 5G service without the inflated price. So hang on to your Benjamins and switch to Pure Talk for a Jackson and a Lincoln. No contract, no hidden fees. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and you'll get 50% off your first month when you switch. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe, for an American wireless company that is truly unprecedented. Pure Talk.
Remember that time we were driving through France and for some reason we didn't have GPS?
Oh, for some reason? That reason would be that you didn't plug your phone in because you didn't have a charger.
Yeah, because I let you borrow my phone so you could call your mother and you're on the phone for like 30 minutes telling her where we are. But that aside, we didn't know where we were going. We did fight a little bit because we didn't know where we were going. I think that Longevity Medical Clinic is like the GPS for us. They tell us which turns to make. They tell us which directions to go, right?
They do. And now I feel like the two of us together have a clear path and we have more control over our own health care.
Right, exactly. So you don't have to get out of the car and try to find information somewhere. It's all right there. As you're aging, all the little sort of turns you have to make in order to be able to have lots of energy and to enjoy your life. So for as far as I'm concerned, Longevity Medical Clinic is our GPS. Do what Nick and I have done. Take a free health analysis at lmclinic.com. That's lmclinic.com. For almost 50 years, over 90,000 homeowners have trusted Home Comfort Alliance, including me. John Curley here. If comfort and energy savings matter to you, now you can save up to $2,000 on new heating and cooling systems. Home Comfort Alliance will replace your old system with one tailored to your home's layout while optimizing efficiency. Visit homecomfortalliance.com. Save up to $2,000 and schedule a free consultation for heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical. Call the comfort people. Home Comfort Alliance.
Do you like helping others? Become a Shiva volunteer. In Lewis County, join the hundreds of volunteers across Washington state who help over 90,000 people each year with their Medicare options and questions. You don't have to know Medicare. We'll teach you. And if you're bilingual, even better. For more information and how to apply, call Shiva at 1-800-562-6900 or go to insurance.wa.gov.
Sponsored by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner and aired by the Washington State Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
This is the story of Julie Guillot. She's a Leukemia and Lymphoma Society advocate and the mother of a child who battled blood cancer.
Zach was diagnosed with AML, a deadly leukemia, when he was only 5. While the treatment really attacked the cancer, unfortunately it also attacked his body. Uncontrollable fevers, terrible nosebleeds, and his skin was burned from the inside out. He died at just 9 years old, really from the treatment that was meant to save him.
The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society was founded 70 years ago by parents who also lost their child to cancer. Today, we're pioneering breakthrough treatments for kids with cancer.
We are so close to finding better treatments for kids with cancer. So it's too late to save Zach, but working together, we can save thousands of kids just like him.
Visit LLS.org and save a child's life.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show, broadcasting from the Fox News studios out of New York. I'm in town, somewhat ironically, I suppose, for CNN. And an issue that we'll be debating tonight at 7 p.m. our time is today's SCOTUS hearing, SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States. And let's, from the get-go here, be clear about what's going on. This is a debate not about hate, not about bigotry, as folks on the left who scream the loudest want to define this as. This has never been about hate or about fear. And it's frankly never been about denying anyone dignity or erasing trans people. This is just about fairness. And frankly, it's about fairness for girls. Those groups of people that we used to be able to define honestly until the left decided to lean into the wokeness. Earlier today, the Supreme Court was asked to weigh the legal arguments about whether or not states can ban biological males or trans girls from competing in girls' sports. And the fact that this even needs to be litigated tells you how far off the rails this entire conversation has gone. We have the existence of girls' sports for a reason. It was never meant to be a political statement or a social experiment. They exist because biological differences between boys and girls or men and women, it's real, it's measurable, and it's decisive, especially when we're talking about competitive athletics where you're talking about people at their peak performance. Every once in a while, you'll get one of those really, truly bad and disingenuous arguments. Like if I'm out there saying, yeah, we should be banning this from occurring, it's not fair. An athlete will say, or someone on the other side will say, well, a female athlete can beat you at anything. Like, yeah, you can. I'm not an athlete. Of course they can beat me. We're not talking about me competing against a top female athlete. Although I suppose, depending on what it is we're talking about, I might be stronger. Not Jackson, not you though. You're weak upper body. You have the upper body strength of a vegan.
Which is so weird because I'm not a vegan.
I know it is. It's very, but you got to up your protein. But none of this is really about ideology as much as it is about biology or physiology. We know that as a matter of fact, and again, you don't need to be a scientist, as Jamie Peterson, the state senator from Washington, wants us to pretend. You don't have to be a scientist to understand this. Males have inherent advantages because of muscle mass, bone density, lung capacity, strength, and that's not erased because someone changes the way they identify or because of some hormone treatments that they're on. You can argue about policy. I think that that's fair, but you can't argue with the biology without looking like you're just flat out lying or you're just, stupid. And yet for years, that's exactly what the activists and the lawmakers have demanded everyone do. And it's always interesting when you hear the justices on the left try to talk through all of these issues. It seems clear that they're just ignorant on the issues. And it was speaking of ignorant on the issues, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who didn't quite understand why a state would have to have tailored laws around things like trans issues.
I'm still struggling to understand why.
And by the way, she says this every single time. It's, how some people just say a lot, like this is or like. That's Ketanji Brown Jackson's like or She says, I'm struggling to understand. I don't understand.
Struggling to understand why the state would have to have perfectly tailored laws. I would think the state would just have to make exceptions where people can demonstrate that the justification that makes the state's conduct constitutional doesn't apply to them.
Right. So making exceptions is tailoring your law. That's literally what it means to tailor.
No, but
I love that. And this is the Justice. Is this Hashim Mupan?
Yep.
I just love it. It's like, it's literally what you just said. It's literally what it is they're doing.
Yes, from the standpoint of a facial challenge, when we're asking whether this law has to be stricken completely because it isn't, perfectly tailored. What we're doing is a different exercise in the as-applied challenge. We're asking whether, even though this law is overbroad, we're assuming it's overbroad now because you've got in there some people to whom it should not be applied. What do we do about that? What is the remedy that those people can get? And what I hear you saying is they get no remedy unless they can demonstrate that there are enough people that this is sufficiently overbroad that it's no longer something the state can do.
Right.
And I don't understand why that is. Why wouldn't, when we identify people for whom this law operates unconstitutionally, that's the premise, because now I'm in remedy, right? The premise is that you have a person who's successfully made an as-applied challenge. This, to me, unconstitutional. You say, too bad, unless you can show that it's also unconstitutional with respect to a sizable number of other people. And I don't understand why that's the case.
Oh my God, she never really understands. So let's hear the legal response to that, because I find this stuff fascinating.
Because I don't agree with the premise that the law operates unconstitutionally as to an individual person just because it doesn't. The justification for the law doesn't apply to that person. That's what this court held in both Wynn and Michael M. It recognized that the justification that was put forward for the law might not be true for each and every person the law applied to, but this court said that's fine.
And if we you read Caban and Lair to say something different. If I disagree with you, then we just...
Well, Wynn is the most recent of the cases. So even if you read the cases that way, and Wynn is explicit about this. Wynn explicitly says, I believe it's, I'm not going to get the page number right, but Wynn explicitly says that we recognize that there are some men who were present at the birth of their child, who have a DNA test to prove that they were the father, that have been with their kids their entire life. In fact, that was probably true of Wynn's father.
It's just so silly. And of course, the topic of what a woman is came up, and Justice Sam Alito was pressing the attorney on the anti-ban side, Kathleen Hartnett, to describe what a woman is.
Do you agree that a school may have separate teams for a category of students classified as boys and a category of students classified as girls?
Yes, Your Honor.
If it does that, then is it not necessary for there to be, for equal protection purposes, if that is challenged under the Equal Protection Clause, an understanding of what it means to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that definition for equal protection purposes? What does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. I think that the underlying enactment, whatever it was, the policy, the law, we'd have to have an understanding of how the state or the government was understanding that term to figure out whether or not someone was excluded. We do not have a definition for the court. And we don't take issue with we're not disputing the definition here. What we're saying is that the way it applies in practice is to exclude birth-sex males categorically from women's teams, and that there's a subset of those birth-sex males where it doesn't make sense to do so according to the state's own interest.
Well, how can a court determine whether there's discrimination on the basis of sex without knowing what sex means for equal protection purposes?
I think here we just know that we basically know that that they've identified pursuant to their own statute, Lindsay qualifies as a birth-sex male, and she's being excluded categorically from the women's teams as the statute. So we're taking the statute's definitions as we find them, and we don't dispute them. We're just trying to figure out, do they create an equal protection problem?
And it was at that point that Alito just completely nuked the argument that was coming from the anti-ban side.
Suppose this school that has a boys, let's say, track team and a girls track team. The school has that. And a student who has the genes and the reproductive system of a male and had those at birth and has never taken puberty blockers, never taken female hormones, never had any gender-altering or affirming surgery, says, nevertheless, I am a woman. That's who I am. Can the school say, no, you cannot participate on the girls' team?
So you're just a birth-sex male who has all the advantages of birth-sex male hormones, and can the school borrow him from the women's team? Yes, they can.
But that person, is that person not a woman in your understanding? If the person says, I sincerely believe I am a woman, I am in fact a woman. Is that person not a woman?
I would respect their self-identity in addressing the person, but in terms of the statute, I think the question is, does that person have a sex-based biological advantage that's going to make it unfair for that person to be part of the women's team? And that's the rationale for the regulation, and so that's the way we would be testing that hypothetical.
Well, the reason I'm asking has to do with discrimination on the basis of transgender status. So what you seem to be saying is, yes, it is permissible for the school to discriminate on the basis of transgender status, because if this person is a trans woman, a trans girl, and is barred from the team, from the girls' team, then that person is being subjected to differential treatment based on transgender status, right?
That did not go well for her. And it seemed pretty obvious. And I know, Jackson, you were paying close attention to this today as well. I mean, it's pretty clear that this is going to be another one of those block decisions where all the conservatives are going to go one way, the majority, and then all the liberals are going to go the other way. There were two people kind of to watch. One was Chief Justice John Roberts, who I think his first question out the gate made it clear where he stood. Neil Gorsuch is the only other person to watch because he's gone both ways on this, pardon the pun, on this particular. It was not intended to. I heard that snicker. He's gone both issues on this, or both sides of the issue. But it seemed pretty clear the conservatives are going to side with states giving them the right to ban trans athletes from competing.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just so preposterous. Like, how could they not? I mean...
Well, how can they not? You can listen to the really bad arguments coming from Kagan, Sotomayor, and Brown-Jackson, and they really were bad. And, on MS Now, their legal reporter, Lisa Rubin, she acted in such bad faith with one of her arguments, framing this entire debate. And, on the one hand, she's right when she says you can't really separate out the politics of this, but it's not because of what the conservatives did. But listen to what she said.
Well, you'd hope that the politics are out of the courtroom. And I will say, our producers have noticed a protest outside the court today that is larger than anything else that they've seen this year. So
it's unbelievable. The 13 days of which they've only been in session for 2, the largest protest we've ever seen. I mean, I was shocked by how many protesters were there in the 13 days and really 2 days of the session.
Politics around this, you're correct to observe, are quite large. With respect to what comes in the courtroom, I mean, I don't know how you can disaggregate the politics from this legal issue. The very fact that we're talking about the difference between biological males and cisgender males is...
Was that a mistake?
Yeah, wait a minute.
There is no difference, Lisa, between biological males and quote-unquote cisgendered males. They're just males. That's the thing here.
It's been foisted upon us by a campaign of fear being driven by the right against some women who want to participate in women's sports.
No. Against men who want to participate in women's sport. That's what, she's intentionally framing this as if trans women are women because that's a bumper sticker talking point, but they're not.
One of the plaintiffs here, Becky Pepper Jackson, she was the plaintiff and is now the respondent in the West Virginia case. She transitioned when she was in 3rd grade, has never...
No. Oh, my God. That's your argument? How old is a 3rd grader?
Like 8.
Yeah. Okay. She didn't transition anything. He had abusive parents.
Undergone the kind of puberty that a biological male would necessarily go through. And so her argument is, to Leah's point, sort of some men but not all men, she says that from a biological standpoint, she is indistinguishable from other women.
But that's just not true. There's no such thing as indistinguishable from other women when we're talking about biology.
And so to foist upon her the expectations that we have of most biological men is simply unfair and unconstitutional as to her.
I'm also, it's funny because she says as to her, but Lisa's point and the point of everybody on MS Now is not even to make the distinction she's trying to make here, right? I mean, the whole point here is to do the opposite, is to treat every single quote-unquote trans person as if they're actually the biology in which they identify. It's just absolute lunacy. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to join the show and weigh in. I'm broadcasting from the Fox News studios in New York on this Tuesday afternoon. I'll be debating this very issue tonight on CNN at 7 o'clock on Abby Phillip Newsnight. I don't know who the panel's going to be. Oh, God. I'm going to get in trouble, aren't I? I can already see it. How long before I get called a bigot tonight once this story is introduced?
I'd say over-unders 90 seconds.
Right? Should I play the gay card? Because the chances are any liberal on that panel will not know who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting for the moment where, like, listen, it's just one thing for all of us to say as cisgendered heterosexuals. I'm just waiting for that moment. We're going to get into some more controversies when we come back. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical,
there's no beating CM Heating.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz here with Phil Mitchell from the Sunset Auto family. Let's talk about No Stress Sundays, because there are a lot of folks who just feel off-put by the idea of going to any place to purchase a car, and then all of a sudden you've got salespeople. Even if they're not breathing down your neck, the feeling that they might be just turns people off.
Well, No Stress Sundays is really how it should be every day at a car dealership.
So why is Sunday different for you?
Sunday's important because families are out running around. They don't want to waste their time. They don't want to be hassled by a salesman. And no offense, my staff likes to have some Sundays off too with their families. So we created this environment where there's really less salespeople, less finance people, and you just get to mosey around. And if you need some help, you raise your hand and we take good care of you. And that's how it works.
But to be clear, on Sunday, I can still get a car, right?
If you decide you want to go through with a purchase, we'll make sure we can facilitate that for you. We just aim to make you happy.
And you do just that. Sunset Auto Family has been making people happy with warranty protection for life, oil changes for life, and now No Stress Sundays. Head into any location when you're ready for your next vehicle. Sunset Auto Family. You just get more at Sunset, and people do like that.
Hey, it's John Curley with Dr. Kopstein from K2 Vision RLE. Doc, I heard that 50% of Americans have their lenses replaced by the time they're 75.
That's exactly right, John. As we near 50, our eye's natural lens starts to become dysfunctional. If you've now added readers to your need for glasses and contacts, it's a sign the quality and function of your natural lens is fading, and it's a steady decline towards cataracts.
Don't go another 20 plus years with poor vision, hassling with contacts and readers. Do what I did. Choose a quick, painless refractive lens exchange from K2 Vision RLE and start enjoying great vision now.
Our new lens technology is truly amazing. After replacing over 100,000 lenses, we have the experience to guide each patient to their best solution, even if that's recommending you wait a little while before RLE.
K2 Vision RLE can restore distance and near vision permanently, plus never develop a cataract. Read the reviews and schedule a free Zoom consultation now at k2visionrle.com.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show here in New York, as I'm on the road for some debates with liberals on CNN. And I have to say, we'll get to the news in a moment, but I had a maybe an hour's worth of glee in travel. Travel is not great, especially to the East Coast. It's such a long flight. The good news coming to New York from Seattle, and I flew into JFK, is that it's usually, because of the wind, like 4.5 hours at the most, unless there's some delay. Coming back to Seattle is the worst. It's like 6 hours. It's just, it is brutal. But the one thing I look forward to on these long flights is probably what everyone looks forward to when they take a flight and they look at their seat map and they realize they have the entire row to themselves. And going into the flight, like a day before the flight, it showed that there was no one seated between me and someone who was seated at the window. I'm an aisle guy because I always have to pee when I'm told that if you're in a position where you might have to ask someone to move, you're going to have to pee like 50 times. It's just
I'm the same way.
All right. It's the worst. And look, I drink a lot of water and Coke Zero, so I always have to actually go. So I was praying that no one would get that minute. Yesterday, I get to the airport and I checked every single the map. Showed that the person who had previously been assigned to the window seat left. I had the entire row to myself, Jackson. The entire row to myself. And then I started to get nervous I was looking at the flight, and I was trying to figure out, because I was in an area that usually gets an upgrade for people if they're in the Jackson seats, I refer to them as, the poor people seats. And then I started to check every 10 minutes to see if someone else was going to be put in that row. But you know what happens right before they let everyone in? They close out the seat assignments so you can't see the map anymore. Mm-hmm. So I get on wondering if they will move someone to some of those open seats, because worst case scenario is that they fill both seats. Mid-case scenario is that one person is there. And I was going through before they shut down the seat assignments, and this would have been risky. But I was thinking to myself, do I pick the middle seat? Should I right? And the chances are, I'm presuming, less likely that someone's going to want to sit next to me. Do I take the middle seat? Because if you're out there and you're looking for a seat, you'll take a seat that has an empty spot between.
Yeah, you want the buffer zone.
Yeah, you'll take the buffer, but you won't want to sit right next to someone. I decided not to do that. So I get to my seat. It's the only row that had all of the armrests up. And I assumed that that was good news, that the flight crew looked at this and they said, hey, whoever's going to be in this row, let's make it more accommodating to them so they can put their feet up.
They're not that nice.
Exactly. They're not that nice. And I couldn't figure out why else would they do that. I was literally the only row that they did this for. So I sit down, and now it's just the clock is ticking. Everyone walking towards me, I'm just praying that they keep walking past me, that they don't make that turn. And there were a couple times where they made eye contact with me. And I was like, oh, no, they're going to ask me to move because they're going to point to the seat on. But they didn't. They kept going. And I kid you not, Jackson, they had just said, we're just about ready to close the doors. There were just a few people who were walking by. And guess what? The second to last person who was walking toward, guess where they went?
Next to you?
Into my row. Now, thankfully, they didn't sit in the middle seat, and it was just one person. So we went back to the original, which I had, pretty much accepted that there was going to be someone at the far end. But I had the glory of the idea of putting my feet up, which would be better than first class, to have an entire row to yourself. I had that for just, 20 minutes, 30 minutes as people were boarding, and the second to last person was the one who sat there. And guess who this person was? Remember that Jesse Waters on the street segment in Seattle in which the woman gave the weird look and it became a meme? Do you remember that woman? I am.
If I saw it, probably.
Yeah, everyone remembers it other than you. I am convinced, number one, it was her. Number two, she was watching MSN or MS Now the whole time. And this is what was freaking me out, because it was the emergency exit. You know how they always ask you if you're willing to help in case of an emergency, and everyone lies and says yes, they would, when the truth is, I'm out first before all of you, and what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So this woman, I swear to you, didn't look at the emergency pamphlet once or twice or three times even. She looked at it multiple times, not even before and during the flight attendant asking all of us. She was looking at that thing mid-flight, which was making me wonder if she knew something no one else knew.
What's going on?
Why does she keep looking at this thing? Why is she so concerned about whether or not this plane is going to crash and she's going to have to know how to operate this emergency exit? It was really freaking me out. And so the entire time I kept sort of side-eyeing her to see whether or not she was planning something. And the only thing she was doing was planning which liberal garbage to watch on the live TV screen. Thank God we were otherwise fine. Except I had to listen to her. Just like she was talking to herself. I couldn't quite understand what she was saying, but she was I wonder if she was just mentally ill.
Well, if he's watching MS Now, there's a good chance of that.
Right. That's the entire audience for MS Now. 1-800-465-8770. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Drivers who switch their home and auto with Progressive could save money and time. Other things try to do this, but they really don't. Like the touchscreen at fast food places. It's not like you save time because it takes you longer to use a touchscreen than, I don't know, someone who works there. And another thing, you'd think it would save money because they're not paying a cashier, right? But no, same price. Also, why is there an option to tip? Who am I tipping? Exactly. Anyway, even if you can't save money and time with some things, you could with a Progressive home and auto bundle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers, not available in all states or situations.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy place, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy plates every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
I'm Bradley Johnson with 1-800-DUI-AWAY, and I want to talk to you about the importance of when you hire a lawyer. Some people delay, and that's a mistake. Here's why. When you go before the judge at your first appearance, bail is usually set.
Order in the court.
It may be the only chance you have to address that bail. You're going to want aggressive counsel, arguing for the lowest amount possible, or release with no bail at all. You want someone who knows you, a private lawyer who's going to fight. 1-800-DUI-AWAY. If your bail is set too high, you may be stuck in jail, or you may have to pay an expensive bail bondsman. When you're out, you need a trustworthy lawyer that can help put this whole ordeal behind you. Call 1-800-DUI-AWAY or go to 1-800-DUI-AWAY.com to schedule your free consultation for any criminal offense. You wouldn't go into surgery without a doctor.
Scalpel.
So don't go without 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
1-800-DUI-AWAY! For nearly 50 years, 90,000 homeowners have trusted Home Comfort Alliance. Right now, save up to $2,000 on new heating and cooling systems. Call the comfort people. HomeComfortAlliance.com.
File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. TurboTax helps you get your biggest refund, and then Credit Karma helps you do more with it. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO-FM, HD3 Tacoma, Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastway, 33 BU Seattle.
The clock ticking. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Department of Homeland Security said to run out of money in about an hour after lawmakers couldn't reach a deal on reforms to ICE.
Taxpayer